Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What kind of slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm going to burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you with Toadstool Sports. I can't even talk right now. It is Sunday, April 12th. 3-0 day on the show yesterday. Every single win was easy, so there you go. All 3 small underdogs with the win. Washington Capitals, complete domination in that afternoon game. You look at the stats, that game was not close at all, even though they were down to a 1-goal lead a couple of different times. Wound up winning 6-3, I think, probably an empty net near the end. I wasn't fully paying attention to it, but they had way more shots in that game. They were the only team that showed up in that game. If they had not won that game, it would have been a complete BS loss on that one. Obviously, the right handicap there. The other hockey game, kind of similar. Columbus clearly showed up with a ton of intensity there. They got the win pretty easy, also by 3 goals, I think. 5-2 maybe, and then the Cleveland Indians scored in the first inning and then never trailed after that, even though it was still 1-0, I think, in the middle of the game. They tacked 3 more runs on late in the game. If you played it first 5 innings, you got the win. If you played it full game, you got the win. Didn't really matter. So we got the win with Cleveland there. The bullpen actually was pretty good for Cleveland. The Braves showed that they're human, at least in the bullpen yesterday. Move on today. Today, the board is a bit tricky. There's a huge NBA board today, so I just spent all this time handicapping all this, which is why I'm a little bit later than usual. And this is probably going to be a long show, and I'm going to try to make it not that long. I don't know how I'm going to do that. I'm going to give out 2 baseball plays and hope that they hit, and then we're going to have 1 hockey play. I'm going to have 1 NBA play as well, and trying to really be picky about the NBA here and try to find a spot that actually makes sense with a number that actually makes sense to play it. Josh, what's up? Dirty Sock, what's up? Mr. Pinsy, what's up? What? Oh, it's, GOAT backwards. I've never even thought about that. All right, I'm Togue. All right, let's talk about baseball here first, man. Baseball is the sport that's starting first anyway today. So nothing starts until 1:35 p.m. I think there's a little bit of afternoon hockey, and all the basketball is tonight. Arizona and Philadelphia is the first game up. These teams have split the series so far, I believe. 1-1. So, you know me, I like to potentially look to teams that are trying to avoid a sweep. We don't have that going on here. Arizona, still think their bullpen is pretty much garbage, although Philadelphia's hasn't been that good either. I gotta look, man. I don't want to talk out of my ass here because I'm just remembering last year pretty much. Arizona used 2 relief pitchers yesterday. Philadelphia used a ton more. They used 5, although they used a few for smaller amounts of pitches, but they used Duran, who I think is their closer, Duran. Not to be confused with Jaron Duran, Joan Duran there, however you pronounce his name. So there is a little bit of a rest disadvantage in the bullpen for Philadelphia, although Arizona, I'm pretty sure, is the lesser bullpen. Looking at the bullpen whip, I don't even see where Arizona is right now. Shockingly, they're actually 7th, which is way less bad than you would think, although I still think this bullpen is pretty bad. Philly is actually 2nd, so I don't know what I'm talking about. So, yeah, I'm going to give Philly overall a bullpen edge, but the lack of rest kind of negates that a little bit. Maybe it's a little bit of a wash in the bullpen there. Arizona has actually not been hitting well, surprisingly. And Philly actually kind of hasn't either. Philly seems like they probably do have the better offense, though. And starting pitching, I kind of want to give the edge to Philadelphia here. Although Zach Gallen is the more proven pitcher for Arizona. He's got a 3 ERA so far. 1.33 whip is a little bit too high. 9-6 strikeout walk ratio is concerning. It's not a high strikeout rate in 15 innings. It's not a good walk number either. So there are some concerns there. He's been better since his first start, though, where he gave up 4 runs against the Dodgers. He's only given up 1 earned run in 2 starts since then. So he is pitching better. More recently, his numbers against Philly are okay. 137 at bats, 31-14 strikeout walk ratio. That is not very good, but 248 average allowed. That's fine. 768 OPS. Anything higher than 750, like I say, is a little bit on the higher side. So he doesn't exactly do great against Philadelphia. Andrew Painter is pitching for Philly. I don't know what we're going to get out of him here, man. He was really good in his Major League debut against Washington, 8-1 strikeout walk ratio. Then he didn't have a good start in his next outing against a weak-hitting San Francisco team, so against the lesser offense in a pitcher-friendly park, he did way worse. But it was his first road start. I mean, maybe you give him a pass for that. I think Painter is actually going to be good. Like, he's a young, talented pitcher, and it's just that he needs to overcome these injuries that he's had that have plagued the start of his career, or basically delayed the start of his career, really. I tend to think he is going to bounce back, even though you look at it, 4.82 ERA, 1.61 whip. Those are bad numbers, but it's such a small sample size. It was one bad start. And, of course, Arizona's never seen him before, so I think he does have an advantage there. These talented young pitchers, as I always say, when they haven't been seen by that opposing lineup, that's usually an advantage to the pitcher. Philadelphia is taking the money here. They're up from -118 to -138. 58% of the tickets, 73% of the cash on the Phillies. I will agree with the Phillies, although I do worry a little bit about the bullpen, even though Arizona's bullpen is pretty much fadeable in every game, just because they're not, I really don't think they're good, although they have been better than you would think this year, like I said. If you want to avoid Philly, their bullpen, because they used too many of their relievers yesterday, maybe I would agree with doing that as well. First 5 innings on Philadelphia does make sense to me in this game as well. So maybe that is actually the better approach, and just go with the starting pitching advantage that Philly seems to have there. And it's still an under-the-radar advantage because nobody knows who Painter is yet. San Francisco at Baltimore. These two teams split, with Baltimore winning yesterday. So, again, probably it means both teams will be motivated here to try to get this win, to win the series. As far as the bullpens are concerned, I think San Francisco has the better bullpen, even though it hasn't totally shown yet. Where are they at? I don't even know where they're at here. Dude, I still don't have the lay of the land here. Baltimore actually has had the 9th best bullpen so far. Giants, 21st, but I don't even know if I buy that, really, because it's the same, very similar personnel to last year. I don't see the Giants having this much of a bullpen drop-off here, so I don't think the gap is that strong between the two bullpens like it looks. I will give Baltimore a better offense, obviously. They're top 7 right now. The Giants are a bottom 4 offense. I don't think that's unreasonable to say. San Francisco only used 2 relief pitchers yesterday. Baltimore used 5. So San Francisco, I will give them the bullpen edge here. I mean, we're trying to gauge a small-ish sample size still. As the season goes on, maybe we do have to adjust a bit, but they do have the more rested pen here. Adrian Hauser is pitching for the Giants. 3.97 ERA so far, looks pretty good. 1.59 whip, not so good. Hasn't struck a lot of guys out. 7 strikeouts, 3 walks, but his problem has been he's been too hittable, really. 15 hits and 11 and a third. So that's really been the main issue, although his strikeout stuff hasn't really been good either. But he hasn't been wild. It's just, it seems like he's just putting a lot of pitches over the plate, and that's not really what you want. And Baltimore obviously can hit those. He's been okay against Baltimore, I guess I'll say. 38 at bats, 10-2 strikeout walk ratio, 289 average is definitely too high. But because he's allowed no extra base hits, 614 OPS is still pretty low. So they have a lot of singles off of him, which is kind of hard to figure out. Like, does that mean their offense actually does well against him, or does it not? I tend to think OPS matters a little bit more, and Baltimore has not hit him for power at the very least. Still, it's a small sample size. Cade Povich, you want to talk about small sample sizes, he's pitching for Baltimore. He's only made one appearance so far, and I believe it was a relief appearance against Pittsburgh, but he did pitch a starter's workload, 5 2/3. He's on like a regular starter's rest now, so he has joined the rotation, which is where he was the last couple of years. He's never really been good for Baltimore, though. Like, it seems like he was this guy that had this upside, like, oh, he's maybe going to turn into something good. Maybe he still will, but that hasn't shown yet. 3.18 ERA in that one start so far this year. Looks good. 1.24 whip, maybe not so much. The real problem here is he had more walks than strikeouts. 2 strikeouts, 3 walks, and he's not really a strikeout pitcher, but that is too many walks. But again, first start, you kind of have to, you don't want to weigh that too heavily because maybe he was a little bit nervous, again, first start of the season. San Francisco, not a strong offense. They only have 16 at-bats against him, the majority being Devers when Devers was on the Red Sox in his division. They're only 4 for 16 off of 4 strikeouts, 1 walk. So 250 average, 544 OPS. It's difficult to gauge like what you think is going to happen here. I mean, you could make the argument that Povich should do well here when he's not doing paternity tests for people. The chant for him should be "Who's your daddy?" Instead of the Pedro Martinez Yankees chant. The money is coming in on Baltimore. You could argue that Povich does have an advantage in that he's just unfamiliar to the opposing hitters more so than Hauser is. Maybe there's a little bit more upside there because he's younger than Hauser as well. But the money is definitely indicating on Baltimore. They're up from -105 to -121. 54% of tickets, 80% of the cash on Baltimore. I'm not going to disagree with it. I might consider making it first 5 innings, but then again, so far this season, Baltimore's bullpen has actually outpitched the Giants' bullpen. So you can do with that information what you want. But then again, as I said, Baltimore used more of their relievers yesterday. So I would probably go Baltimore first 5 here instead. Just leave the bullpens out because it is more of a question mark there, I would say. Although still, I don't want to play the game because I think the starting pitching is also a question mark here. So, yeah, I don't have a good read on that game, really. Next game up will be one of my plays, though. We're going to go first 5 innings on this with the Minnesota Twins, even though I know they won yesterday against Toronto. Maybe you could argue Toronto's going to bounce back, but Toronto has not been impressive so far this season, man. They really haven't. I know yesterday they had to face Joe Ryan, and that's not the case today. So they're facing a lesser pitcher, but I think we have a little bit of something under the radar going on here where we're going to be on a pitcher that has no name recognition. People don't think he's good, and maybe with good reason, up against a pitcher who's going to be in the Hall of Fame, but I think might not have a whole lot left at this point. Minnesota, I mean, I don't think they're a good team, but we're looking at the spot here. We're going to take their bullpen out of the equation, even though they only had 2 relievers pitch yesterday. Toronto only had 1, so Toronto does have a little bit more rested bullpen. Both of these bullpens have been awful so far this year, but Minnesota's has been particularly bad, second worst in Major League Baseball, arranged by whip. So I'm just going to exclude Minnesota's bullpen. I don't want to deal with the risk there, even though Toronto's bullpen has been bad too. Offensively, Toronto probably does have the better offense, even though they're slightly behind Minnesota in OPS right now. I think they do have the better offense, although Minnesota has not hit that poorly so far this year. But what we're looking at really is a starting pitching matchup here, man. And I know these teams are trying to win the series here. Motivation is probably going to be on both sides, but Taj Bradley maybe Minnesota and their pitching coaching has found something with him, man, because he looked like he had like good stuff at various points when he was with Tampa Bay. His 2024 season was actually pretty solid, and it was an improvement over the previous season such that it looked like he was going to take the next step forward, and then it didn't really happen, and they traded him away last year, and then he wasn't good on Minnesota, but this season he has been really good. 1.08 ERA, 1.08 whip as well. He's faced Baltimore, Kansas City, Detroit. I mean, not the most powerful of offenses, but, I mean, Kansas City's been hitting okay. Detroit's not that weak of an offense, although I know they haven't been hitting that well so far this year. Baltimore's a decent offense, and overall he has a really cool-looking 22-4 strikeout-walk ratio in 16 2/3 innings and fewer than one hit allowed per inning as well. And he's only allowed 2 earned runs over the course of those 3 starts, going at least 6 innings in each of his last 2 with a 13-1 strikeout-walk ratio in the 2 starts in April. So he is in really good form right now. He looks good right now. I know his numbers are not good against Toronto, so I do worry about that a little bit, but I'm going to flip to the other side of this in a minute. They have 59 at-bats against him. They're familiar with him because he was in their division. I get that. 12-2 strikeout-walk ratio, 271 average allowed, 804 OPS. Usually I'm not going to be on a pitcher that has numbers like that, but we're going to fade Max Scherzer here, man. And again, I think the public is just going to play Scherzer in this one. The Blue Jays were in the World Series last year. Scherzer's a Hall of Fame pitcher. His numbers look good this season, 3.38 ERA, 1 whip, but he might have some issues here, man. His last start was shortened, so that might kind of throw off his rhythm or whatever. He hasn't really gone deep, like pitch count-wise, into either start so far, but his last start, it wasn't just because the Dodgers were kind of hitting him okay. He got sick or something, so I don't even know how healthy he is at this point, but he did have to get pulled from that start early, which, yeah, maybe that means that he's rested here, I guess, but I don't trust it, man. I just don't. And against Minnesota, his numbers are really bad, like worse than you would expect. Even when Scherzer was better, like earlier in his career, he still didn't do well against these guys. In 68 at-bats, 14-7 strikeout walk ratio, 324 average allowed, 1,042 OPS. These are bad numbers, so he has the worst matchup numbers here. I think he's overvalued in the market, and I think Bradley is in the better form, so let's do it. We're gonna go with the more talented younger pitcher here. Not the more talented, but the younger pitcher here that has more a higher ceiling right now. Let's put it that way. Scherzer, obviously, great career, probably better than what Bradley's gonna have. You know, obviously that's the case. But we're looking at who are these pitchers right now. Toronto down from -120 to -115, 53% of the tickets on them, 55% of the cash on Minnesota. The money seems like it agrees with me. Now, you can get Minnesota as an underdog if you want to play the full game. Again, I told you my concerns with their bullpen. I'm taking it out of the equation. We have basically a pick-em price in the first 5 innings, so I'm doing that instead. Zach, what's up? The Royals, we'll talk about them in a minute. Jeff, what's going on? Springer, I mean, I don't put much weight into one guy going down for a baseball lineup. I mean, they can only really do so much. I mean, a single player other than a starting pitcher matters way less in baseball because, like, one guy is only going to get, like, 4 or 5 at-bats, like, pretty much in a game. So that can only do so much in a game. So I don't really put much weight into that. I don't even think Springer is their best hitter in their lineup at this point, so I just don't really give a shit if he's in the lineup or not. I don't think it really has any effect on the line at all. Something to know. I mean, that if anything, that makes Toronto a little bit less potent on the offensive side. So, but he's also an old man at this point, so I don't know. And I don't know, was Springer included in those Bradley numbers? I don't even know. Yeah, he's 4 for 14. So actually, all right, that is a good point then. He's one of the hitters that hits Bradley well. So, all right, I'll take back what I said a little bit there. Even though, yes, he'd only get a certain number of at-bats. Yeah, if you take him out of this equation here, you're right. Bradley does have better numbers against most of their other hitters, and it's really down to kind of just Vlad Guerrero and Sanchez have both hit him well. All right. Anaheim at Cincinnati. These two teams are split as well, with Cincinnati winning yesterday. So these teams are trying to win the series here as well today. And I believe one of these series is continuing tomorrow. This is not it, though. Bullpen-wise, Cincinnati's had a decent bullpen so far. Anaheim's is bad, even though they don't look that bad at 19th. I'm going to give Cincinnati a bullpen edge here, although we have to look at what they did yesterday. And Cincinnati used, whatever this is, 5 relief pitchers, which isn't great. Anaheim only used 3, so maybe that makes it a little bit more of a wash. But I really think Anaheim's bullpen is pretty lousy. As far as the offense is concerned, Cincinnati's offense has definitely struggled so far this year. They're in the bottom 3 on offense, which is really not good. Anaheim is more like middle of the pack there. So Anaheim, you could definitely argue they have the better offense here right now. We have Jose Soriano pitching for Anaheim. Notoriously very good on the road and not so good at home, but he's been good either way. Like, he's been really good this season. In 3 starts, .45 ERA, .65 whip. Obviously, that's unsustainable, but 21-6 strikeout walk ratio in 20 innings, only 7 hits allowed. He's only allowed 1 run over this entire span. He faced Houston, the Cubs, and Atlanta, so he's not facing like the weakest hitting lineups here either. And he had 1 good start at home where he usually doesn't do well, so Soriano's off to a good start. He's in really good form right now. Probably not a guy I would want to fade right now, especially on the road where he pitches better, even though this is a hitter-friendly ballpark. He has decent numbers against Cincinnati in 31 at-bats. 8-4 strikeout walk ratio is not good. 226 batting average allowed, 701 OPS. Still, I think those numbers are pretty good. He is going up against Andrew Abbott, who is not a bad pitcher. Not really a guy that has like stuff that blows you away. A 3.18 ERA so far this year is good, but his whip is definitely too high, 1.41. So he is putting too many guys on base. He's not really a strikeout guy. Like I said, 11 strikeouts in 17 innings. The 6 walks is really kind of the issue. He's walked multiple guys in each of his last 2 starts, so his form is not too good right now. Like, it's Pittsburgh and Miami as well. So, I mean, I know those teams are off to hot hitting starts, though. So I think Soriano is maybe the more trustworthy pitcher right now and in the better form right now. Abbott has not really been seen much by Anaheim, though. They only have 2 hitters who've ever seen him before, and they're 0 for 2 with 2 walks off him and no strikeouts. So not a whole lot you can gauge from that. You could say that Abbott does have a little bit of an advantage, maybe because he's unfamiliar to the opposing lineups here. Anaheim is taking the money, and I do agree with Anaheim here. Minus 107 here now, 74% of tickets, 95% of the cash on them. It's another one where I might consider going first 5 with Anaheim here, but then again, they do have a little bit of a bullpen rest edge here right now, although I don't think they're the better bullpen, so maybe first 5 does make more sense and just ride the hot Soriano, who is better at home here. I wouldn't really disagree with an under in this game either, although I'd probably keep that first 5 innings because I just don't really trust these bullpens, even though Cincinnati has been okay. 8.5 is where that number is. It's flipped to juice to the under, although we see 61% of tickets and 72% of the cash on the over. I know it's a hitter-friendly ballpark in Cincinnati, but I think first 5 under, based on the pitching matchup specifically, makes some sense here. But still, I think probably I prefer Anaheim first 5 innings money line there, which might be a little bit more of a price, but that's the way that it is. The A's at the Mets. This is pretty insane, where the A's have won 4 games in a row against the Yankees and the Mets, and they're potentially on the verge of sweeping the Mets here and have outscored them by a combined 15-6 score in these 2 games. That has me looking towards the Mets, like right off the jump here, because the Mets are the better team here at home, and now they're trying to avoid a sweep. Now, I did tell you that the A's hitting was going to start doing better, and they've jumped all the way up to 13th offensively. I mean, their offense does have talent. The A's pitching is really where their weakness is. Like, their offense was good last year. They have a lot of those same guys. So, yeah, I knew their offense would start coming around. Not sure that I would really say that it's better than the Mets. They're neck and neck here, tied in OPS right now, although I think the Mets offense is probably still a bit better. Not by much, though. For the bullpens, the Mets used a lot of guys yesterday. I think it might have been an extra inning game. No, wait, it wasn't. It was a blowout. What am I saying? But the Mets, yeah, probably because it was a blowout, the Mets used 5 relief pitchers yesterday. The A's used 4, and I don't think the A's bullpen is any good at all. They're 26th right now in WHIP. The Mets, middle of the pack, kind of 11th, but you got to agree, I think, that the Mets have the better bullpen here. But a little bit less rested. Maybe potentially you want to just avoid both bullpens here. Aaron Savali is making the start for the A's. He has a 2.7 ERA so far, 1.1 WHIP. So he's pitched well so far. When you look at that, he hasn't put too many guys on base. His problem is, again, the walks, but it was one start against the Yankees where he walked 4 guys. So maybe that's not that much of a concern. But he's allowed way fewer than 1 hit per inning, so he hasn't been hit that much, although he has allowed 2 home runs so far. So when he has allowed contact, it has been kind of hard. He's kind of hard to gauge right now, man. Up against the Mets here, in 84 at-bats, 15-9 strikeout walk ratio is not that good. 250 average allowed is fine. 775 OPS is a little bit high. So the Mets have been able to hit him a bit. Mediocre numbers, really, I would say there. And I think pretty clearly Freddie Peralta is the better pitcher here, although people might look and say, oh, he has a 4.8 ERA. That must mean he's the worst of the 2 pitchers. No. Anybody that follows baseball knows Peralta, very strong, solid pitcher, better than Savali. 1.13 WHIP on the season, that's fine. He's had some struggles with wildness this month, though, so that's kind of the issue. His current form is not that good. 12-5 strikeout walk ratio. The strikeouts are there, more than 1 per inning, but the walks are definitely too high. And he hasn't gone that deep into these starts, so he's going to have to turn it around, although I think he will, but I'm worried about it right now just because his form isn't really that good. But maybe this might be one of these starts where he does come out and do well because the A's only have 20 at-bats off him, no extra base hits, 4 strikeouts, no walks, 250 average allowed, 500 OPS allowed. So I do still think the Mets are the right side here, but the money is not agreeing with me on this one. But I think they're going to be extra motivated to avoid the sweep, plus they're the better team, plus they have the better pitching throughout this game. And you could debate they have the better hitting too, so I just don't see the real argument for the A's here, man, other than the line is too high. Like, the price is too high on the Mets is the only argument that I can really see for that. They're up to minus 165, 89% of the tickets, 64% of the cash on them. And again, yeah, like, I'm going to disagree with the market on that one. I would lean to the Mets in that game, but it would have to be like a run line / money line split situation. I would go full game Mets on that one to avoid the sweep, plus you get the bullpen advantage with them. So that would be my opinion in that game. But the money is disagreeing with me, and that worries me. Miami at Detroit, you want a pitching matchup. This is it in this game. Detroit is on the verge of a sweep, so it is possible they overlook Miami here. Now that Detroit is kind of righted the ship. They do have a divisional series up next against the Royals, so there is a potential look ahead there for for Detroit looking ahead to Kansas City. Maybe a little bit extra motivation on the side of Miami. Miami started off hot, but they've I think they're not quite as good as they looked early in the season, but they still have the 5th best bullpen whip. Detroit is somewhere in the middle of the pack here. So you could make the argument that Miami has the better bullpen. I think it's close, like I said, when I gave out Detroit as a play the other day. Miami's also still top 5 in offense in OPS. Again, I think that might regress a little bit. Detroit is middle of the pack, but I think the gap is not that wide between these two teams. And Detroit is going to be a favorite here, but part of that is also because they have schoolboy pitching. Detroit only used 1 relief pitcher yesterday, and it was a long relief, man. Miami used 3, so I think Detroit, you could make the argument they do have a bullpen edge here. This game, though, Sandy Alcantara is pitching from Miami. He might be back, dude. 0.74 ERA, 0.58 whip. If you look at, like, the Cy Young odds right now, he's, like, 3rd in the NL behind, like, Skeens and I forget who else. Who's, like, the other elite pitcher in the NL? I forget. But I'm like, does Alcantara really deserve to have odds like that? I don't know, man, because he's trying to come back from Tommy John surgery. He did start showing signs of that at the end of last year. And this year, again, he's been really good in these first 3 starts. 18-4 strikeout walk ratio. That's a good ratio, but I'm concerned that the strikeout rate is still not that high. In 24 and a third innings pitched, his strikeout stuff seems like it's a little down still, so that does concern me a little bit, although he is pitching really well. He's been basically unhittable, though, allowing 10 hits over that span. But, again, I'm going to dial it back a little bit because he's faced Colorado, the White Sox, and Cincinnati, who hasn't been hitting well, so he has not faced particularly good offenses so far. So, yeah, it's impressive what he's doing so far. Yeah, he's in good form. I think the jury is still a little bit out on him. But, yes, he is in good form. And, yes, I think he is going to probably pitch well in this game. His numbers against Detroit are good. In 57 career at-bats, 20-0 strikeout walk ratio. That is quite good. 175 batting average allowed, 439 OPS allowed. So, those are good numbers, obviously. His history against Detroit is good. He's going up against Skubal. I mean, I don't know if we have much to say here. 2.55 ERA, 1.08 whip. I mean, we know. I mean, he's probably the favorite to win the AL Cy Young again. I'm assuming he won it last year. I don't even really pay attention to it. He's clearly the best. I think he's the best starting pitcher in baseball. Probably the best in the AL. I mean, I guess it's between him and Crochet, probably. He's got a 16-2 strikeout walk ratio so far this year in 3 starts. Struggled in his last outing, though. He didn't make it 5 innings against Minnesota. But I think that's more of a blip, and he hasn't even pitched at home yet. So, I mean, we don't need to belabor this. I mean, we know Skubal is an elite pitcher. Against Miami, good numbers as expected. 18 at-bats. They haven't really faced him that much. 5.0 strikeout walk ratio. 167 average allowed. The OPS is a little high at 667 because he has allowed 2 home runs to them, to Heriberto Hernandez and Augustine Ramirez, or Augustine Ramirez, however you pronounce his name, whatever. Yeah, I mean, I like the under in this game, if that wasn't going to be obvious. Problem is, it is at 6.5, juice to the under here. And we have 59% of the tickets and only 57% of the cash on the under now. So that does worry me. The under, there are obvious arguments for it, right? Like, you have pretty rested bullpens here. The starting pitching matchup could be elite in this game. But you know me, even though the professionals, as I said yesterday, and that game hit 7, by the way, the Cubs game. As I said with that game, this is a more elite starting pitching matchup here, though. The professionals will tell you 6.5 is the odds makers trying to detract you from playing the under, and that if you like the under, you should still play it. I don't do it, though, man. I just don't. 7 is such a key number in baseball that you wind up in a 3-3 tie situation. Could become a problem there, man. I still would lean that way, though. I would not want to play this game over. I would lean to the under, and the money is indicating on Miami, with Detroit up to minus 188. I think you're going to pay a tax for Skubal, because everybody knows that he's the best pitcher. 64% of the tickets on them, 52% of the cash on Miami. Yeah, if Alcantara could duel him there, Miami has a bullpen that could potentially keep them in this game as well. If it's going to be that low scoring, yeah, it makes sense to maybe be looking towards Miami on the run line here just to stay in a close game and maybe keeping the starting pitching matchup close. If I was going to do it, I might do it full game, though, and try to take advantage of Miami's potentially better bullpen here still, although, again, they're a little bit less rested than Detroit is, but nothing extreme there. The Mets, I mean, man, I lean to the Mets, like I said, but I would not want to put my money on it. It looks like just such a square play, and the money is indicating completely against it. So I would not want to do that. I don't know if there's a better way to play the Mets here. I mean, the money in that one's coming in towards the under, so A's to go under their team total. They're a good offense, though. It seems a little bit risky to do it that way. Mets over their team total, I guess, is a possible way of looking at that game. You're going to get the A's bullpen in the equation, and they stink. So maybe that's the better way. I don't know. All right. I'm selective for a reason, though. I don't like when my leans do better than my actual plays, though. That should not be what happens. I should be weighing these correctly. Next game up is a game I'm going to play, and I'm going to be a square in this game, so you know what I'm doing here. but I have good reasons for this. We're going to play the New York Yankees. If you want to play the money line at minus 150, I considered that here. I know it's a bit juicy. You could do that. I think you're paying kind of a tax for the Yankees here, but I don't see the Yankees losing this game. I'm going to do a split bet run line, money line at minus 1.5, run line at plus 120. And the other part of it, it's like a 60-40 split here pretty much. Or, well, I could show you what the numbers are. I still have it up here. If I do it out of 100 instead of 300, actually 68. Well, it's not quite 60-40 because you put, you have to risk more than 100 to make 100 on this. You know what I mean? The books charge you, but you get it down to a minus 114 price on the minus one if you do it this way. You could just find the minus one run line out there, but the best I saw was minus 120 on it. So this was a cheaper way of doing it. But yeah, it winds up being about 68 of the 100 on the money line part of it. And then whatever you can win with that 45 in this math equation here, then you put that amount on the plus money side of things on the run line, if that makes sense, so that you're making your own minus one run line here. So if they win by exactly one, it'll be a push. That's how that works out. But yes, we're going to do this here. First of all, the Yankees are trying to avoid a sweep. So they're not going to overlook Tampa Bay. They're still the better team here over Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, yeah, they would like to get a sweep over the Yankees, sure. But you got the better team here, one of the best teams in baseball, trying to avoid a sweep here. And that's just kind of the start of this hand. There's another part of this handicap that I really like that I'm going to talk about when I talk about the starting pitching. But yes, I think the Yankees are in a highly motivated spot here. And yeah, I know you definitely can make the argument you're paying too much. It looks like the money's agreeing with me. And actually, if we find a better money line on this, I might switch this to a money line play. I'll put it in the description because I wouldn't disagree with playing the money line here. If it's I would want it below minus 150 though, because that's just, I don't like to lay that much juice, especially with a public team. But you see 89% of tickets, 93% of the cash on the Yankees here. I'm getting worried here, man. The money is fading me now on this Minnesota-Toronto game. That is concerning me a lot now. I don't even want to be on it anymore, to be honest. But the money is agreeing with me on the Yankees here. Now, that's the start of the handicap. We look at the bullpens here. Tampa Bay's bullpen has been atrocious this year, and they used a lot of it yesterday. They used 6 relief pitchers yesterday to get through that game. The Yankees only used 3, and they only used Hill for 1 pitch. So I think the Yankees have a very large bullpen advantage here. Even though the Yankees, last year their bullpen wasn't that good. It's middle of the pack right now based on whip. Their ERA does look better than that, though. But Tampa Bay's has been a disaster for the most part. They're one of the worst bullpen ERAs right now, though the whip is a little bit better than that, but still really bad. So the Yankees, I think, do have a pretty sizable bullpen edge right now here. And the Rays have been the better offense, which is shocking to me because I don't think their offense is that good. And I think both of these teams have weak hitting at the bottom of their lineups. I'm not convinced that the Yankees are the worst offense here. I don't even think they are. So I'm going to kind of take all those stats with a little bit of grain of salt here. And we get Cam Schlittler on the mound here. He's got a 1.62 ERA and a really low 0.48 whip so far. In fact, he has no walks on the entire season so far in 3 starts. The Yankees have won all of them. In 16 2/3 innings, he's only allowed 8 hits, and he has 22 strikeouts. I mean, these are like borderline elite numbers here. It's just that he hasn't gone too deep into these games, but it seems like they're kind of keeping him on a pitch count, and they've let him go more pitches in every outing, so they're kind of ramping him up, and I think they're going to let him go deeper into these games. And he's been good against Tampa Bay in the past in 25 at-bats, 8.2 strikeout walk ratio, 200 batting average, 579 OPS allowed. So he has done well against Tampa Bay in a limited sample size. He's going up against Drew Rasmussen, and I know Rasmussen is pretty good. 1.8 whip, or excuse me, 1.8 ERA. Whip would be awful. 1.8 ERA, 0.8 whip. He's good. Yeah, no doubt about it. But he is the guy that is on like an inning count. Like they literally just pull him after 5 innings regardless of what he's doing. And yes, he's done well so far. It was impressive that he was able to pitch well against Milwaukee. He's got a 10-1 strikeout walk ratio so far. All of that's good. I agree with all that. And if you look at his numbers against the Yankees, those are also good. So what am I doing here? Like, I should be playing an under here, right? 63 at bats, 22-8 strikeout walk ratio against the Yankees, 175 batting average allowed him, 537 OPS. He has really good numbers against the Yankees, no doubt about that. But I think Schlittler is going to outlast him in the game. I think we get the bullpen edge here. I think we get the motivational edge. I think we get the hitting edge. And I'm gonna downgrade Rasmussen in this game as well, because look at his game log. The last time he pitched was April 1st. So that's going to throw him off of his schedule. But also, why is that the case? Why did he not pitch when he was supposed to on April 7th or whatever it would have been? So first of all, pitchers, they're creatures of habits. When you throw them out of their out of their rhythm here and put them on a different rest, sometimes that will affect them negatively, and that's not good. But why did he miss his start here? It wasn't an injury. And I'm going to tell you, we're going to take something from the UFC handicapping. It's a big thing in the fights, UFC and boxing. We're going to fade the baby in this starting pitching matchup here. I think it works in anything that's heavily focused on the individual. Drew Rasmussen's wife just had a baby. That's why he missed the last game. He's been on paternity leave. And I think that's a massive distraction. You have a new baby, basically you're not getting any sleep. You have to deal with the baby. You got to deal with whatever's going on at home. I think it's a major, major distraction here. So we're going to do that here. We're going to fade Rasmussen's baby. And we get these other advantages I already talked about as well. Yankees is the play in this one. I like this one a lot, actually. It's not often we get to do this, and it's not often that sometimes I don't even know when these pitchers have babies, but in this case, we do know. So we're doing it. Fade the baby. Yankees is the play. Fuck off. Fuck the Yankees. I hope they lose anyway. Don't come in here praising the fucking Yankees. They're a fucking evil empire, evil organization. Basically, fucking clown, dude, Mr. Pinsey, you're additionally a clown because you're not even from New York. So why the fuck do you even root for the Yankees? I'll at least respect people that root for the Yankees because they're from New York and that's just what you do. All right, fine. But if you root for the Yankees for no other reason other than the fact that, they've won the most World Series, whatever, fuck right off with that shit. Fuck the Yankees. Square play, it means that, basically, it means that it's a public side, and it looks like you're being baited into that play, and it looks way too easy to make that play. Although the Yankees might be kind of a square side in this one too, but I guess I would say, I don't know, it's hard to say what it really means, but I guess if the professionals are on the Yankees, it's not really a square side though. I think it's a side where basically the public is on it and the professionals are not, I guess I would say. All right, fine. I'll give you a pass for that then. If you inherited the fandom from your father, that's fine. But fuck the Yankees. First 5 under. I don't really disagree with that. The money is somewhat coming in on the under. Total 7.5 in that game. 81% of the tickets on the over. 84% of the cash on the under. A lot of money looks like it's indicating on the under in that game. I don't disagree, but again, I told you why I don't like Rasmussen in that game, so that kind of keeps me away from wanting to play that game as an under. And like you, I would not include the bullpens either. Tampa Bay's bullpen is trash right now. All right, White Sox and Royals, man. I want to get this show done, man. This is, for Zach, the Royals. They're on the verge of a sweep here. And what did I just tell you? They have Detroit next, so Kansas City could definitely be looking ahead here, and they could overlook the White Sox, or actually, it's not a sweep, my mistake. They've won 2 of 3, sorry, my mistake. But still, there's a potential after shutting out the White Sox 2 games in a row. Maybe they do look ahead to Detroit here, who is the next team that they play. So, maybe the White Sox have some sort of motivational edge here. We're going to look at the pitching in a minute, though. As you could probably already tell just looking at it, I don't like the White Sox chances with that starting pitching matchup they have there, if you even want to call it a starting pitching matchup. As far as the bullpens, The Royals bullpen has been a disaster so far, which kind of surprised me because they were pretty good last year. White Sox have also been bad, so we have two bad bullpens. The Royals' offense has been the better offense here. The White Sox are dead last in OPS. The Royals are basically in the bottom third, but not as bad. Yeah, but the Royals have a better offense than the White Sox, at least. So, I'm going to give the Royals an offensive edge in this one because the White Sox are pretty much trash on offense. White Sox only used 2 relief pitchers yesterday, but I don't trust their bullpen, and I think their bullpen is going to be doing a lot of work here. Plus, Kansas City only used 1 relief pitcher yesterday. Based on what happened last year, I think Kansas City probably has the better bullpen here, even though they've been a disaster this season. I still trust them more than Chicago's bullpen here. Grant Taylor is also getting the start for the White Sox, so they're going with a bullpen game here, dude. I mean, you can look at his numbers and whatever, but he's gone basically 1 inning in every one of his outings, so he's going to be an opener in this game, and he last pitched 3 days ago, so he's not getting a starter's workload here. So that means you're getting this trash White Sox bullpen for the majority of this game. That doesn't look good to me. His numbers against the Royals also stink for what that's worth. They're 8 for 15 off him, although no extra base hits, 4 strikeouts, no walks. Still, with no extra base hits, they still have a 1,067 OPS, 533 average off him. Small sample size, but he has not had success against the Royals. And the last time out when he pitched against them for about an inning or an inning and a third, he escaped not allowing any runs, I think, but he allowed like 2 hits, put multiple guys on base. Still not good. He's going up against Noah Cameron. Off to a pretty good start this season, 1.69 ERA, 1.13 whip. Pretty talented, young lefty pitcher here. I don't think he's like the greatest, although I did say that he is the second best starter in the Royals rotation behind Reagan's, which maybe I'll stick by that. Although I think their starting rotation is actually kind of good, to be honest. I think Waka is solid and goes under the radar. I think Lugo is better than the professional bettors like to claim he is. Cameron has a 10-2 strikeout walk ratio so far. Hasn't gone too deep into these starts, but still he's been pretty good so far. But against the White Sox, he has not been good. In 27 at-bats, 2.1 strikeout walk ratio, 370 average allowed, 985 OPS. It's a very small sample. I don't think Cameron is really going to be that bad in this game, would be my guess. I think the Royals have some advantages here. I would lean towards the Royals here still, even though they might have that look-ahead component to this, but I just don't see how a White Sox bullpen game is going to be able to outplay Noah Cameron. Plus, Kansas City's bullpen that I think has more room for improvement here. Down from minus 190 to minus 174 on the money line for Kansas City here. They're a public side, though, 93% of the tickets, 99% of the cash on them. I don't think that's an accurate number, but I would probably lean towards Kansas City in that one. I don't even know what the best approach would be. I guess maybe just Kansas City run line, split the bet run line, money line. I don't want to play the game, though. I don't have any other baseball plays on this board. So we have 2 afternoon plays here, and I'm already getting really worried about the Twins play, which is really about current form and which pitcher is the more overrated one and overvalued one. Washington at Milwaukee. Milwaukee, they're on the verge of getting swept, and they've lost 4 games in a row. I still don't think Washington's a good team. I think Milwaukee is going to show up with focus here, man. You do not want to get swept at home by the Washington Nationals, all right? So I think Milwaukee is going to have an effort here. You're going to have to pay a price for it, though. But as far as the bullpens, Washington's bullpen is really, really bad. Whoops, I think I just gave away what some of my plays are there. Washington used 3 relief pitchers yesterday, but they're a train wreck of a bullpen. Milwaukee only used 2 relievers, and they use them for a very small amount of pitches. So Milwaukee pretty clearly has a bullpen advantage here. They've been an okay bullpen. Where are they at? They're middle of the pack. Milwaukee is. Washington is in the bottom 4. So yeah, Milwaukee pretty clear bullpen advantage. Milwaukee has been 6th offensively based on the OPS here. Washington has been 3rd, though. But still, I still don't know if I buy these early season numbers with Washington, man. They're hitting well right now, but Milwaukee, at the very worst, Milwaukee can match Washington offensively. And starting pitching, I think we do have an advantage with Milwaukee here as well. Zach Littell is pitching for the Nationals. 3.6 ERA looks good. 1.5 whip doesn't look good at all. So he is putting too many guys on base. And you look at his numbers, 7-5 strikeout walk ratio. That's a problem, dude. Which kind of surprises me because Littell, usually what he does is he puts too many pitches over the plate. Usually he gets hit too hard, which he has allowed 2 home runs this year too, both at Philadelphia. But usually he doesn't walk that many guys, and this season he's walked way too many. Like a 7-5 strikeout walk ratio. Again, that is pretty untrustworthy stuff here, man. So I don't trust Littell here. Although his numbers are actually good against Milwaukee. It's 66 at-bats, 13-4 strikeout walk ratio, 167 average allowed, 472 OPS. Yeah, that does give me some hesitation as far as wanting to fade Littell here, but I think people might overrate him because of his ERA. And people are going to look on the other side with Brandon Woodruff and see that he has a 5.91 ERA and think that he's worse than Littell. He's not. He is definitely better than Littell. He does have a 1.31 whip so far. I know those numbers are bad so far, but really it's such a small sample size. It was one questionable start against the Red Sox, which somehow the Red Sox still lost that game. I'm going to give him a little bit of a pass for that. It was kind of a blip, I think. If you look at Woodruff, his career numbers are really good. He bounced back really nicely last year from coming back from injury after he missed like an entire season. He's a good pitcher. He's definitely better than Littell. We have this matchup of the 2 red beards here. They both have red beards. It should be the Pirates if they're both red beard. Woodruff against Washington, pretty good numbers. 36 at bats, 16-0 strikeout walk ratio, really good. 194 average allowed, 639 OPS is higher than you would think because he has allowed 3 home runs to them, but still, I think that's a little bit more fluky, kind of a small-ish sample size, but I think you get the motivation and you get the advantage in basically every aspect of that game with Milwaukee. So I like Milwaukee to get that game. They're a huge favorite, though, up from -170 to -215. Still, I think if you play it, I think you got to lay the run line with Milwaukee. That's probably what I would do in that game. 93% of tickets and cash on them. I think you want to take advantage of everything in that game, including the bullpens and whatever. So that's probably what I would do. I mean, if you wanted to go Milwaukee over their team total, maybe that makes sense. When the money is hitting the under in that game, and based on the fact that Littell matches up well against Milwaukee, I do see the arguments for the under, and it's a pretty strong market read on the under there. So I would go first 5 innings if I was going to go under in that game, though, because the bullpens, especially Washington's, you don't want to include that in an under, you know. But the total has dropped to 8 juice to the under, 79% of tickets on the over, 69% of the cash on the under. I lean under first 5 innings, but I still probably prefer Milwaukee to win that game, man. And run line is probably the way I would go. Under first 5 in which game? I would not do that in the White Sox Royals. I would not do that. Yeah, no way. Like Noah Cameron, he still has bad numbers against the White Sox, and the White Sox are going with a bullpen game. If that's the game, if that's the game you're talking about, there's no fucking way I would do that. Boston at St. Louis. My Boston Red Sox, they did win yesterday, so this is the rubber match in this series here. I got to figure out, one of these series is continuing tomorrow, and I forget which one it is. Actually, I can look right here, I guess. Houston and Seattle, I think is what it is. I think that's the only one. Yeah, I believe that's right. Houston and Seattle is the only, weird. That they're going through the weekend and playing on Monday. Very weird. Anyway, Red Sox got the 7-1 win yesterday against St. Louis. You know, I don't know if I love the Red Sox in this one, even though it is the rubber match here, so probably both teams will show up here. St. Louis has had a pretty bad bullpen this year. They're bottom several bullpen. Red Sox have a bullpen edge. They've been middle of the pack, but pretty clearly have the better bullpen here. Although if we look at the bullpen rest scenario, the Red Sox did use 4 relief pitchers yesterday, which is not great. But so did St. Louis, so got to tilt the scales towards the Red Sox for the bullpens there. Red Sox offense has not been doing too well. They're somewhere kind of middle of the, they're sort of middle of the pack, bottom third-ish right now. Still think there's a lot of room for offensive improvement there, and the Red Sox should fire Alex Cora because they clearly have some offensive talent on this team. St. Louis has been the better of the two offenses so far this year, which is pretty shocking, but I don't think they're that good. They're middle of the pack here. I'm not even ready to say that St. Louis even has the better offense here, but Brian Bayo is pitching for the Red Sox, and you know I don't like him. 9 ERA, 2.5 whip. These are horrible numbers. Yeah, I mean, his underlying metrics, like, people think that he's good based on his surface numbers that you've seen, like, basically just his ERA over the last year or so, but I can tell you his whip was too high, puts too many guys on base, his underlying metrics are terrible, the advanced analytics guys hate him, he has a 7.7 strikeout walk ratio so far and has allowed more hits than innings pitched and 1 run an inning. You can't do, or yeah, more than 1 run an inning, but 1 earned run an inning. You can't do that, man, even though I know it was against Houston and Milwaukee, and those are 2 of the top offenses so far this year. So he's actually getting to step down in class to face St. Louis here, but he's still in horrible form. I don't trust him at all. Against St. Louis, his numbers are not terrific. In 17 at-bats, though, so it's a small sample. 235 average is pretty good, but 866 OPS. That's a high OPS that he's allowed there. 4.1 strikeout walk ratio is fine. But I don't trust Bayo. I don't trust Andre Payante for St. Louis either, though. Even though people are going to look, oh, he has a 1.8 ERA. He must be good. No, he's not. 1.3 whip is pretty lousy. He puts too many men on base. In fact, he has more walks than strikeouts, which is really damning. 7 walks, 5 strikeouts. That's not good. I know he's only allowed 2 runs. I know he shut out the Mets for 5 innings. You can't put this many guys on base and get away with it. Although he hasn't allowed that many hits, but I don't think he's a very good pitcher. Red Sox have 26 at-bats against him, 4.4 strikeout walk ratio, 269 average, and 828 OPS. So Red Sox have decent offensive numbers against him. I think the way to look at this game is to go over the total. Even though the Red Sox do have a decent bullpen, you got at least one bad bullpen here. The bullpen rest scenario is not particularly good. I don't like either starting pitcher here, so I think over the total is the move here. The total is 9, which is pretty high. It's high for a reason, especially in St. Louis, which is kind of more of a pitcher-friendly ballpark. We have 53% of tickets and 94% of the cash on the under, though. The money coming out on the under makes no sense to me at all. I lean over here. I think that's actually the better way of playing this. The money is indicating towards St. Louis as well. Don't really have a huge disagreement with that. I mean, I think Bayo does suck, so Red Sox, Bayo on the road probably should never be a favorite. They're down from -125 to -121. The Red Sox are 50-50 on the tickets, 52% of the cash on St. Louis. Money indicating on St. Louis. Still, I think the stronger opinion for me is over the total there, like I said. Pittsburgh at Chicago at the Cubs. This is crazy, dude. We saw 6.5 as the listed total in these games, the first 2 games of the series, and now we're seeing a 12.5. Like, seriously, you're telling me the wind has that much of a dramatic effect in this stadium? I mean, usually you see it go between like 7 and 10.5, basically. Now we're seeing 6.5 to 12.5. That's insane to me. So obviously this means the wind is blowing out in Wrigley here, and that lake effect wind is strong. So do with that information what you want, but obviously this means the wind is blowing out. Although we see 61% of tickets and only 60% of the cash on the over. So the money is kind of fading that initial move towards the over there. But when a total's that high, as I always say, it is high for a reason. Maybe it is over-adjusted, though. Now, the Cubs are trying to avoid a sweep here. So as what I think is the better team, the Cubs at home, in a situation where they're trying to avoid a sweep, I think you do have a motivational edge on the side of the Cubs here as well, and that might be the way to look in this game. Although the Cubs have been struggling so far, and they used 5 relief pitchers yesterday, so I don't like to see that. It might have been an extra inning game. Pittsburgh used even more. Pittsburgh used 6, although they only used Soto for 1 pitch, but still, that is a pretty burned-out Pittsburgh bullpen there. So the bullpens, the bullpens are pretty fadeable in this game here, so I would not want to be in an under in this game, I'll tell you that much. Looking at the bullpens here, Chicago, the Cubs have this is offense, my mistake. Cubs have not hit well so far this year. Pittsburgh has had the better offense. Cubs bottom third, Pittsburgh basically top third. I expect those numbers to kind of move back towards some sort of mean, though. Like, I don't think the Cubs offense is, like, way, way worse than Pittsburgh's, but that has been the case to start the season. For the bullpen numbers here, the Cubs are middle of the pack here. Pirates, where are they at? They're also middle of the pack. So we have two kind of mediocre bullpens here. So you don't like to see that they're both unrested. Bubba Chandler pitching for the Pirates. I've been singing his praises, man, because he looked good last year. I thought he was just kind of shaky because of the nerves in his first outing, but he didn't even allow a hit. He walked a ton of guys, though, but we still got a win with our play on Pittsburgh in that one against the Reds. Now, the problem is he's coming off an equally shaky performance, actually a worse performance, against San Diego, which is not good because they haven't been hitting well at all. So Chandler really worries me right now, man. Looking at his numbers last year, he looked good. He does have 10 strikeouts in 8 2/3 innings so far this year, but 10 walks, that can't happen. You cannot walk that many guys. I mean, he's been very difficult to hit pretty much, but the walks are just insane. You cannot do that. His 3.12 whip, or 3.12 ERA, whip would be so bad. 3.12 ERA looks good, but 1.73 whip, I can't trust him right now, man, even though I did trust him in his first outing. I think he's going to get better again. I think he has a lot of talent, to be honest, and we saw that last year. Maybe he will start improving here, though, because the Cubs, only Conforto has ever faced him before, and he's 0 for 2 with a strikeout. So Chandler should have an extra advantage here in that he hasn't been seen before, and he still is a talented young pitcher. He's going up against a much more familiar pitcher in Jameson Taillon. He's off to a good start to the season, though. 2.53 ERA, 1.22 whip in 2 starts. His strikeout walk numbers aren't that great, though, 7-4. Not a high strikeout rate, really, but overall his numbers are pretty decent. Hasn't allowed that many hits either. So, yeah, Taillon, I mean, he's been good for years at this point. Like, he's a solid pitcher to throw in, like, the middle of your rotation, you know. I don't have too many concerns with him. Pirates are familiar with him. 103 at bats, 17-7 strikeout walk ratio. That's not a good ratio, but 233 average allowed, 612 OPS allowed. So he has pitched pretty well against them for the most part. So that does give me hesitation towards looking at an over here because I think the starting pitching matchup actually looks good. But what that does mean is maybe there's some serious value going under in the first 5 innings in this game. I don't want anything to do with the bullpens, but under first 5 innings kind of makes sense to me in this one. You're probably get a big total on that one. I don't know. It's probably going to be 6, maybe 5, maybe 5.5, but that's still pretty big for given what this pitching matchup is. But then again, you do have to worry about the home run ball with the wind blowing out and whatever, and that could wreck you. But I do think there are arguments for a first 5 under here. Cubs are minus 129 on the money line with some money indicating on them, even though they dropped from minus 135, 83% of the tickets and 90% of the cash on them. Like I said, I don't disagree with the Cubs in this game, though, even though Chandler, I mean, he could pitch well here. He's got talent. He's unknown to the Cubs, so I can't really do it, but I'm going to slightly lean to the Cubs here just because I think you're going to get extra motivation out of them, and Chandler really has not been in good form with all those walks, so I'll agree with the Cubs in that game. Don't want to put it on my card, though. Bubba Chandler, yeah. He's from the South, man. He's from North Carolina, so he's got a very southern name. North Carolina, a lot of good pitchers come out of North Carolina, I'm pretty sure. Colorado at San Diego. San Diego is looking to get a 4-game sweep here, so they might overlook Colorado at this point. Maybe they start looking ahead. They play Seattle next after a day off, which, you know, maybe they do look ahead to that. Seattle's starting to play like people thought they would. Colorado hasn't put up, well, Colorado really did put up a fight in the first 2 games of the series. And then yesterday, I don't think they did quite as much, but the first 2 games were a lot closer than they looked on the scoreboard. The first one went into extra innings. It was a walk-off grand slam for San Diego. And then the other game was tied in the 9th inning, I think, the second game. Although yesterday's game, I think, got a little bit more out of control for Colorado. Colorado's still not a good team. They used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. San Diego used 3 as well, or 4, excuse me. But Adam only had 4 pitches, so he might pitch again. I think you have to give the Padres the bullpen edge here. I'm looking at offense right now, though. Their offense has started climbing after they were at the bottom, complete bottom, like a couple weeks into the season, but finally we're seeing some life out of the Padres here. Maybe it's because they're playing against the Rockies, but they've moved up to on the fringe of being kind of a middle-of-the-pack offense, which is maybe more what you expect out of them. Colorado has actually been good offensively this year, but they've started to drop a little bit. They're now 9th. I don't think their offense is that good. Maybe it's a little bit better than San Diego's, but I don't think it's that significant. Colorado's 6th in bullpen whip, which I don't really buy that. San Diego's right behind them, but I think San Diego pretty obviously has the better bullpen. They did use a little bit more of theirs yesterday, but I give San Diego a bullpen edge. I mean, plus they have the best closer in baseball with, why do I forget his name already? Mason Miller, and he did not pitch yesterday. But if things go well for San Diego, they shouldn't even need him. But as you can see, I'm already starting to have problems with wanting to fade San Diego here, even though motivationally, yeah, they could look right past Colorado after beating them 3 games in a row. You're probably going to get extra effort out of Colorado here, but I don't know if we could do it in this game, man. San Diego has a pretty clear, well, I think they have the bullpen edge. I don't know if it's clear, but I think they do have a bullpen edge slightly. Although maybe it's not enough. Maybe I take that back. Maybe there are some reasons to still lean Colorado here. Kyle Freeland is pitching for Colorado. He's actually been good this season so far. 2.3 ERA, 1.09 whip. Based on his career numbers and the fact that he pitches in Coors Field, I don't think that's going to continue, but he gets to pitch in San Diego here, which is much more pitcher-friendly. And their offense still hasn't been that good. But they've hit him pretty well. They are very familiar with him. 194 at bats against him. 35-17 strikeout walk ratio. Way too many walks. Although a ton of them are Machado and Bogarts. So maybe he kind of pitches around those two guys. 284 average allowed. 785 OPS allowed. Not really good numbers there. Kind of looks like you got to kind of expect San Diego will be able to get to him. Nick Pivetta is pitching for San Diego. His ERA looks bad, 5.54, 1.38 whip. I mean, his numbers are not good so far, but I think pretty clearly he's the better pitcher over Freeland here. He had a really bad start to open the season against Detroit, and he's settled down fine since then. This month in 2 starts, 1.8 ERA, 16-3 strikeout walk ratio, and 5 hits allowed in 10 innings. So he has obviously settled down. He was really good at home last year. I don't expect Pivetta to pitch poorly here. But his numbers against Colorado are surprisingly bad. But some of this might be in Coors Field, so you kind of have to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt because I think some of these numbers, are in that bad pitching environment. 50 at-bats, 12-3 strikeout walk ratio is fine, 360 batting average allowed, 1,007 OPS allowed. Yeah, I mean, maybe you can't fully trust Pivetta, but I do think he does have an edge against Freeland here. Minus 225 is what San Diego is up to here. Maybe that is too heavy a price to lay with San Diego, though. They're not like an elite team here. 73% of tickets, only 58% of the cash on San Diego. So the money is indicating against them. It's a low total. It's 7.5 as well because it is a pitcher-friendly park. There is the potential that both pitchers do well, although I worry about the matchup numbers, like I said. You know what? I think the better way is actually to agree with the market here, and the better approach is to lean towards Colorado and grab them on the plus 1.5 run line here. Full game, actually. That is probably what I would look to do there to try to put in a big effort here and try to avoid the sweep. But I'm staying away from it, man. I'm really worried about this Minnesota first 5 now. I'm not liking it at all. I think the Yankees is the better play here. I think I fucked up with this Minnesota play. I hate this, dude. When the market completely shifts like that, that's going to be a loser. So, yeah, act accordingly there. The Broncos owners now own the Rockies partially. I mean, yeah, there's potential for the Rockies to get better. How could they be? How could they? How could they get worse from being historically bad? It's like impossible for them to not get better. They're better already right now, but they're still a last place team in this division, in my opinion. They're tied right now with the Giants, but I think Colorado is going to wind up in last place again. Houston and Seattle. Houston is on a bad slide. They've lost 6 games in a row. They haven't been hitting as well. Last 2 games they did actually hit better again, but their pitching failed them as well in their last couple of games. Seattle is a pretty good pitching team, but, Houston might put in a bit of extra effort here because they've already lost 2 games in the series. But again, I did say these teams are playing tomorrow too, so this is not the sweep avoiding spot yet, but still, Houston might have a little bit extra motivation here. As far as the bullpens, Seattle clearly has the better bullpen, but they did use 5 relief pitchers yesterday. Houston, I think, used a bunch too. Yeah, Houston used 5. Houston's bullpen has been a train wreck. They're dead last in bullpen. I think in both ERA and WHIP, they've been absolutely awful. And Seattle has been a top few. Whoops, I'm not looking at bullpens. Seattle is a top 3 bullpen right now in WHIP and probably also in ERA, but I like to look at WHIP, obviously, because that tells you how many people they're putting on base, and it eliminates the luck factor a little bit. As far as hitting, Houston has been really good still hitting. They're number 2 in hitting. Seattle is the second worst, but I do think that there's room for those to regress a little bit. Like, yeah, I think Houston is the better offense, but I don't think it's as crazy as what those numbers make it look like it is. Cody Bolton is pitching for the Astros here. Michael Bolton, folks. Great name. I don't know. I was going to make an Office Space reference. And your name is Michael Bolton. Cody Bolton, I mean, he's kind of a converted reliever. Hasn't really gone deep into these starts here. Did almost go 5 innings at Coors Field in his last outing, and he pitched okay, so I'll give him credit for this. 3.68 ERA so far this year, 1.23 WHIP. I mean, those numbers are not bad. So, it's not like he's been horrible, but I don't really fully trust him because, again, he's a converted reliever. I don't know. He's 27. He's kind of a mystery, really. But he's pitching in a pitcher-friendly park. Seattle has not seen much of him. Still, you're probably only going to get like 3-4 innings out of him, though, would be my guess. Although they have been ramping it up, so maybe it is possible he makes it 5 innings here. Seattle's unfamiliar with him. Only Donovan and Rayleigh have ever faced him before, but they are 1-for-1 with a Rayleigh double and a Donovan walk off of him. So those are their only at-bats off of him. Still, he does have the unfamiliarity going for him, at least, but I think I would trust Logan Gilbert in this matchup a lot more for Seattle, even though his numbers don't look good so far. 5.4 ERA, 1.26 WHIP. We know who Gilbert is, dude. Like, he's been a good pitcher in Seattle's rotation. He pretty much always pitches better at home, so he has that going for him here in this game. His numbers are a bit skewed because he had a bad start against the Yankees, which was at home, but, I mean, it's the Yankees. I think you can give him a pass for that. 18-3 strikeout walk ratio this season. That means he does have his command right now. I mean, like, those are good numbers. Good ratio. He's allowed a few too many hits, 18 and 16 and 2/3. That's not great. Against Houston, his numbers are all right in 164 at-bats. They've seen a lot of them. 42-12 strikeout walk ratio, 232 average allowed, 705 OPS allowed. Those numbers are fine. Like, I'm not going to say he's bad against them. I think I prefer Gilbert in this game, actually. The money's coming in on Houston. And, the argument for it would be that Houston's going to have extra motivation to avoid the sweep here. But I still don't see how you could trust Bolton, who might exit the game early. And then you get Houston's bullpen up against Gilbert plus Seattle's better bullpen. I just don't understand it. I think I lean to Seattle here, but the money is not agreeing with me. Seattle up to minus 158 from minus 145. 51% of tickets, 85% of the cash on Houston. Money pretty strongly indicating on Houston. Again, this is part of the reason why I also hate baseball handicapping, man. I disagree with the market pretty often. I'm strongly disagreeing with it in the game that I do have. Yeah, I don't like it. I just don't like it. Texas at the Dodgers. The Dodgers are on the verge of a sweep here. So maybe they overlook Texas here. Maybe Texas comes with some motivation here. But the Dodgers are so good that I thought Texas had a decent shot really at winning both of the games so far, and it didn't happen in either one. So, maybe it still is the case here. I think they have a decent shot to win this game too. And maybe actually even better than the previous two, because I think you do have a situation where maybe the Dodgers do overlook them. Maybe they're going to look ahead to playing the Mets starting tomorrow. And the Mets are not off to a good start this season, but that's still probably a pretty big series in the Dodgers' mind, because we pretty much know the Mets are good. You know what I mean? As far as the bullpens are concerned, Dodgers used 4 relief pitchers yesterday. Texas used 3. I think Texas probably does maybe even have the better bullpen here. Even though if you look at the bullpen so far, the Dodgers have been good, 4th in bullpen whip. Texas is not far behind at 8th, and I actually think they probably do have the better bullpen. They have the better bullpen ERA. Dodgers, I mean, if you look at what happened last year, their bullpen wasn't that good, and they have made some changes, but I don't think it's significant enough that they're better than Texas, who had like a pretty much elite bullpen last year almost. So, Dodgers clearly do have the better offense, though. I think that's not in question. Texas has been middle of the pack offensively, and they're kind of going down. So I think, yeah, Texas, the one thing they don't have, they just don't have hitting. I don't know how else to word it, but I think Texas does have a starting pitching advantage here, and probably the biggest one that they've had in the series. They got Jacob deGrom pitching. He's off to another pretty good start this season, 3.72 ERA, .83 whip. He did have to pitch off schedule a little bit because I think he was sick or something, but he's been good. 13 strikeouts, 1 walk, 9 2/3 innings, fewer than 1 hit allowed per inning. He allowed a home run in each outing, but other than that, he's good. I mean, dude, he's going to make the Hall of Fame. I mean, he's not past his prime yet. He's past his prime. He's not old enough that he's that he's reached a point where he's just not pitching well anymore, even though I think Scherzer has reached that point. And, Verlander obviously has, but I'm not going to say that about deGrom or Sale yet. Sale pitching today as well, by the way. deGrom, good numbers against the Dodgers. They have a lot of at-bats against them, 138 at-bats, although the vast majority of it is Freeman and Rojas. 38-13 strikeout walk ratio is not terrific for him, but 210 batting average, allowed 594 OPS. Good numbers for him generally. We know he's a good pitcher. I don't think we need to say much more about that. He's going up against Roki Sasaki, who has not been good this season. 7 ERA, 1.56 whip. He's still young. It seems like he's not that mentally tough, trying to, get used to pitching in the majors still, even though he's been over here for a couple of years now. 9-5 strikeout walk ratio so far this year. That's not good. He just got tagged for 6 runs against the Washington Nationals in his last outing. Multiple walks in both outings. Hasn't gone deeper than 5 innings in either. He's just not a very trustworthy pitcher right now. His numbers against Texas are good, though. Small 13 at-bat sample size. 2.2 strikeout walk ratio is not good. And Higashioka has a home run off him in the Japanese on Japanese crime there. 154 batting average allowed overall. 651 OPS overall. Those are fine numbers for Sasaki in the matchup, but I think pretty clearly you got to give the edge to deGrom here. I like Texas in this game. I almost want to add this to my card. LA down from -127 to -123 here. 52% of tickets on them, 57% of the cash on Texas. I'm thinking about it. I mean, I think pretty clear starting pitching edge here for Texas. LA might be looking ahead, on the verge of a sweep here. LA looks way too cheap to play them. It looks like the books are kind of inviting you to play LA here, even though the public kind of knows deGrom is better. But, should we add this? I mean, the money's agreeing with me on this, and it's not agreeing with me on that Minnesota play. I don't know. Do we add all these plays here? Do we have 5 plays today? I'm getting a little bit out of control here. I think I might do it. I like this one. Hold on. I mean, I had my eye on it when I first handicapped this stuff, but the money is strongly indicating on the Blue Jays, so I am really, really concerned about that one. But it is full game at least. Let me see. Texas full game. First 5, you have to take them as a favorite. You can get them as a decent underdog full game, and I'm not convinced the Dodgers have the better bullpen, so full game I think is fine here. Fuck it, let's do it. extra play here. There you go. We're going to go with Texas Rangers plus 112 on the money line, full game. That's the best bet. There you go. Classic. Pitching versus hitting, man. All right. Last game is the NBC Peacock Sunday night game. Not used to it not being ESPN. Cleveland and Atlanta. Both teams are going to show up here, man. I believe, according to Magoo last night, if you guys are subscribed to, if you guys are Patreons of Tyler Yonke, Libertarian Podcast Review, I was on his members-only show last night with Magoo. Got in a huge argument with Magoo, not over sports, though, over politics. He is too blue-pilled. But he did mention that Cleveland and Atlanta both have not lost a series all season, which I'm going to take his word for it. Atlanta did have a split series in a 4-game series. They went 2-2, but I'll take his word for it. Neither team has lost a series yet, so I think both teams are going to show up here. We got the win with Cleveland yesterday. It was a shutout, so maybe there is kind of a bounce-back factor here for the Braves after getting shut out at home. And maybe not, though, because it's going to be a tough pitching matchup here. I think both pitchers are pretty good here. The Braves are still on top of the bullpen standings here. Yeah, I mean, they're a good bullpen. I don't know if they're really this good, but yeah, they're a good bullpen. Cleveland is actually pretty good as well. They're in the top half right now. They haven't been great, but I still think they're a pretty solid bullpen based on what we saw last year. And we rolled with that yesterday. Cleveland used 3 relief pitchers. Brogdon only for 1 pitch yesterday, though. They didn't really have to use their better relievers or whatever, I don't believe, because it was a game that was a little bit out of hand by the end of it, although it was 3-0 going into the 9th inning, I think. Braves used 4 relief pitchers yesterday. Still, yes, I think that was the A's. What am I doing here? Braves also used 4, though. Braves, their bullpen's less rested here. Still, I think, I don't know. I think the bullpens are a bit of a wash here. Hitting-wise, Atlanta has had the better offense, and I think that is the case. They're 4th offensively right now based on OPS. Cleveland is middle of the pack, 15th, but yes, I think the Braves probably have the better offense. Tanner Bybee is pitching for Cleveland here. 3.29 ERA, pretty good so far. 1.32 whip is a little bit high, but we pretty much know who he is at this point, even though his season last year didn't really go that well. But he's a good pitcher. I mean, I think Cleveland still considers him their ace. And he is good. Maybe he's not total ace material, but I think he's a good pitcher. This season, a few too many guys on base, mostly via the walk, 14-5 strikeout walk ratio. It's too many walks. He hasn't gone deep into games, really, though, which is kind of an issue. You want to see him go deeper into these games, man. Hasn't made it 5 innings since his season opener, so that's a little bit questionable. Numbers are really good against the Braves, though. In 29 at-bats, they have 1 hit. Albiaz, however you pronounce his name, has 1 double off him, and that's it. 7 strikeouts, 1 walk. 0.34 average allowed, 136 OPS allowed. That's some good stuff from Bybee. So he has really good matchup numbers, but he is going up against Chris Sale, who is, I don't know if he's still elite, but he is still very good. And they keep, rubbing it in my face that he was on the Red Sox, which, when is this video from? Oh my God. But yeah, Sale's still pretty good. Dude, he kind of looks like my man Cole, man. You guys remember Cole from Tower Gang. Cole is a Braves fan as well, but Sale has a very similar looking beard right now. They're both pretty athletic right now. Yeah, I don't know. Cole looks like Sale right now. Sale this season, 3.94 ERA. 0.88 whip. That is a really good whip. He struggled in his last outing. That was his only bad outing so far. Maybe it's a blip. I mean, he's Chris Sale. I mean, we know he's good unless he's completely falling off, which, of course, that does happen fast sometimes. I don't think it's happening to him yet, though. He's 37. I think it's a blip against Anaheim there on the road. I think he's going to bounce back. His 2 home starts are both really good. He's back at home. Overall, he has a 16-5 strikeout walk ratio and only 9 hits allowed in 16 innings. He's done well. The home run's a little bit of a concern, allowing 2 against Anaheim. But, again, I think that was just a little bit of a blip there on the radar. Good numbers against Cleveland overall, but that's kind of what you'd expect. They haven't seen that much of him, really. 52 at-bats, 11-4 strikeout walk ratio, 250 average, allowed 650 OPS. Not a lot of their hitters have faced him, is what I meant to say. 6 hitters have faced him. I think this game looks like an under to me. That is probably the way I would lean. The bullpens, they're a little bit unrested, which is a little bit of a question. You do still get under 7.5 here as the key number. It looks like you do have to pay a little bit for it. Under 7 kind of makes sense to me still. If you want to go first 5 innings and just focus on the starting pitching, you could do that too. Probably looking at a 3.5 if you do that. 74% of tickets, 99% of the cash on the under. I agree under in this one. The Braves are shot all the way up from -155 to -186. 78% of tickets, 88% of the cash on the Braves. I don't have a strong opinion on the side, to be honest. I could see the arguments for it. Sale, probably still more trustworthy than Bybee. But, with Sale on the mound, you're paying too much for Atlanta, I think, which is why the line has gone up. Like, I think maybe -155 was cheap, but -186, not so cheap. Like, again, everybody knows Sale's really good. So, you're going to pay a tax when he's on the mound pretty much. So, you'll find me not really playing on these teams that have the elite starter there unless, we somehow get a really good number on it. So, that's it for baseball here. We're going to go to hockey next, which is it's a small hockey board today. I'm going to take a break, and then we're going to talk about NBA. But I think NBA is going to be quick, even though there are a ton of NBA games. I think I'm going to breeze through it because it's just stupid. NBA, last game of the regular season. Hockey, not yet. There's one more day of hockey, I think, tomorrow. I'll be right back. All right, hockey. Let's do this. I got one play in hockey. I do have some opinions in hockey as well. I'm going to close some of this baseball stuff here. All right. First game up is TNT HBO Max True TV. Afternoon hockey at 3 p.m. It is Pittsburgh and Washington again, but we're flipping venues. So Pittsburgh, we took Washington yesterday, and we got the win. Pretty easy win at Pittsburgh. So now there is kind of a zigzag component here. Maybe Pittsburgh is going to show up with a little bit more effort after that yesterday. Make some adjustments. But the motivation is still on Washington here. So I'm still going to lean to Washington here. I don't want to make a play on it this time, although we won on their last 2 games. But, yeah, Pittsburgh, they still really don't have anything to play for. They're locked in. I think they're pretty much locked into the 2 seed here. They've clinched a playoff spot. They can't catch Carolina. They're 12 points behind them because Carolina won yesterday too. Pittsburgh, they're 4 points ahead of Philadelphia. There are 2 days left of hockey, but I think they might not be able to fall behind Philadelphia at this point. So, yeah, Pittsburgh really does not have much to play for other than the fact that maybe they do want to play a little bit better than they did yesterday and make some adjustments against what Washington did. Washington's still trying to make the playoffs, though. And I believe the only way that Washington can make the playoffs is to overtake the Flyers. So they're 3 points behind them right now. I think that's the only way they could do it at this point because the Senators and the Bruins both clinched playoff spots. They're both wild cards because they're in this better division. They're both in the Atlantic, I'm pretty sure. So it's a very, very weird scenario going on here where there's only one playoff spot left still available here. and it's going to be either Philadelphia, Columbus, Washington, or the Islanders. It's insane, dude. It is insane. 4 teams fighting for one spot. But Washington will still be clearly motivated for that reason. I'll still lean that way, but I don't want to play it. And they're all the way up from minus 115 and minus 164. I mean, we got them as an underdog yesterday, but everybody obviously knows they're the only team that has anything to play for now. It looks like maybe Pittsburgh is going to rest players as well. Maybe they have a worse goalie playing today or something. I lean Washington, but I'm not going to play it at minus 164. 65% of tickets, 94% of the cash on them. If you want to do a split bet, puck line, money line, go ahead, but I'm not going to do it. Boston at Columbus, is that the next game? No, Montreal and Islanders I'll talk about next, but this is actually my bet. So, we're going to take the Islanders here, as you could probably figure that out. We faded Montreal yesterday, and I know Montreal didn't have a good game. You could make the argument they're going to want to bounce back from that, but they've already clinched a playoff spot. Now they're traveling to New York, and the Islanders are not traveling. So the Islanders played yesterday too, but the Islanders have a travel advantage here. Looking at the standings, of course, like I said yesterday, Montreal is already locked into a playoff. Well, they've already clinched a playoff spot. But yes, they could jockey for positioning with Tampa Bay, but I don't know how much that's really going to motivate them here, man. The Islanders are going to be clearly the more motivated team. We're getting them at a really cheap price here. And even though everybody must know, like, they're trying to get into the playoffs here, and they're, whatever it is, 3 points back of Philadelphia for that final spot, and the Islanders failed yesterday. So I think you're going to get even extra motivation here because they're coming off getting shut out at home. Like I said, they're staying at home, so that's an advantage. They got shut out by Ottawa. That is an ugly loss, but Ottawa was fighting for a playoff spot too, man, so they ran into another motivated team here. I think you're going to get an all-out effort from the Islanders here, man. That's what I think. Montreal doesn't really have a ton to play for. The Islanders are up to minus 112. I think that's still a reasonable price for them here. 65% of tickets on Montreal, 56% of the cash on the Islanders. I like it. I agree with the Islanders. I think it's a bounce-back spot for them after a horrible game yesterday. Teams that lose in a shutout at home like that usually are a good play in their next game as well, like I said. So we're doing it. Motivation is on that side as well. It's a pretty reasonable price. Islanders is my one play. NHL Network has Bruins at Columbus here. Bruins lost again yesterday, yet they clinched a playoff spot anyway. They had enough of a lead that it didn't matter, and they did not even get a point. Didn't take it into overtime. The Bruins had a 1-0 lead in the third period and did not even get a point in the game, but it doesn't matter. They're in the wild card now. So the Bruins probably celebrated a bit because they missed the playoffs last year. I don't think they care which wild card they are, really. Like, they know they're going to have to face one of these 1 seeds. Although, you know what? I actually think they should care because I would much rather face Buffalo than Carolina. Carolina is just, yeah, like, Carolina is a force, man. I would much rather play Buffalo. So I don't know how it's going to work out, but we'll see. But yes, the Bruins are locked into a wild card spot. We don't know which one it's going to be yet. So they don't have a ton of motivation. They could be in a letdown spot. But the hilarious thing is they lost yesterday. But even so, I think it's still a bad spot because that was a huge game still against Tampa Bay. And now they have to travel to Columbus for this game. Why would they want to do that? So yeah, I don't like the Bruins here, man. I'm almost considering now adding another play here on Columbus, but Columbus just had a big win yesterday. I think I'll stay away from it, but nice win for Columbus yesterday against Montreal. We got the win on that. Well, you know what? I'm going to stay away from it because one problem is Columbus is returning home from a road trip. So I don't love that, although it was kind of a quick-ish road trip. Still took them to Buffalo, Montreal, and they're still traveling back from Montreal. So I don't know if I love that, and that was a big win for them yesterday. But clearly they're the team that has the motivation here because they're 2 points out of the last playoff spot, the only playoff spot that's available, Columbus. So they still have motivation here, whereas the Bruins don't really. So I agree with Columbus here. They're up from minus 135 to minus 145. So you are paying a little bit of a price for them, but I would still lean that way. 54% of tickets and 51% of the cash on the Bruins. So they are a public underdog, it looks like in this case. You know, I want no part of those public underdogs, man. Which kind of includes Montreal as well. So, yeah, we are playing the Islanders. I'm going to stay off of this one, but this is my second strongest opinion. I like Columbus in that game. All right, Ottawa at New Jersey. Ottawa clinched a playoff spot yesterday, so they don't really have a ton to play for here. I think they're locked into a wild card spot. Yeah, Bruins and Senators are both 8 points back of Montreal, so they're locked in to the wild cards. It's just a matter of which wild card are they going to get, and I don't think that's a motivating factor, really. Ottawa's won 4 in a row. Nice shutout of the Islanders yesterday. Now they're going to New Jersey. Not a huge travel spot, but still, I think they could be in a letdown mode after that. Ullmark did play again in that game, and they got a big win. Clinched a playoff spot. Yeah, to me, it looks like a letdown spot. They have their final home game coming up actually on Wednesday, so hockey does continue through the middle of the week as far as the regular season. The Devils, they don't have anything left to play for. They did just get a big win yesterday themselves in Detroit, though, and they're having to come back from that. They eliminated Detroit from the playoffs with that win, so they probably feel good about that. They took out an original 6 team. So I don't know if New Jersey's going to have, I don't know. I don't know what their effort is going to be here, but I think it's going to be better than Ottawa's because Ottawa is going to be, they're going to start looking ahead to playing in the playoffs, man. New Jersey, this is their final home game of the season. I would lean New Jersey here. Ottawa down from -140 to -125. 57% of tickets on them, 54% of the cash on the Devils. I agree. Lean to the Devils in that game, but not a strong enough opinion for me there. I think both teams are in somewhat questionable spots there. But, yeah, the final home game might motivate New Jersey over the top there. Vancouver at Anaheim. Vancouver, we know they're out of it, so they're just trying to play spoiler. But they played yesterday, and they beat San Jose. That was a nice win. I think it was an overtime win as well. So they got to kind of spoil San Jose. Did they eliminate San Jose? Let me see. No, San Jose is still alive. The Blues and Seattle both got eliminated yesterday, though. But still, that's a nice win for Vancouver. Yeah, I think they're going to try to show up here, but a third game in 4 days in different cities. And again, NHL made a team go from LA up to San Jose and then down to Anaheim. It's just bizarre. Like, why wouldn't you schedule a team to play LA and then Anaheim and make the trip easier? I don't know. It makes no sense. But we see this constantly in hockey. I think, yeah, ideally they're going to want to get up for this game, but Anaheim is one of the only teams that didn't play yesterday. So Anaheim is a huge rest edge here. They haven't played since Thursday. They beat San Jose as well, and they crushed them, which was a big win, but they ended a 6-game losing streak, and Anaheim still has not clinched a playoff spot, so they clearly have motivation here, and it's their final home game, and they've been better at home, and while, yeah, they have a big game on deck against Minnesota, whatever, they got to make sure they make the playoffs, man. They're sitting in this weird spot where they're the only team in the top 3 of a division in the Western Conference, kind of like where the Flyers are, that hasn't clinched a playoff spot. And they got to deal with the Kings, who are right behind them, 2 points. Nashville, 3 points behind them. And then Winnipeg and San Jose probably not going to make it, but they're still not eliminated yet. But Anaheim needs to play because they need to get into the playoffs here, man. Although, granted, they have, they can make it because really it's down to, we're pretty much down to 3 teams fighting for 2 spots almost here. So Anaheim, Kings, and Nashville, 2 of those 3 teams are going to get in basically at this point. But Anaheim does have motivation and the extra rest here. So I would lean to Anaheim here. But they're a massive favorite. They're -300. I don't see how you could really play them in this game. The total is really high. It's headed towards 7. I mean, if you really wanted to try to take a shot with Anaheim over their team total, you'd probably be looking at them to need to score 4 goals, maybe even 5 in the game. I don't know if I would want to do that. That's insane. 78% of tickets, 92% of the cash on Anaheim. Maybe the puck line does make sense, but I don't know, man. I just don't really see much of an angle of attack there. You could moneyline parlay Anaheim with some other favorites there to get the price down on it, but you need all of them to win, of course, and books screw you on parlay, so I don't love that either. But I do lean Anaheim, so do with that information what you want to. And then Utah at Calgary. Utah didn't do well yesterday, even though I thought maybe they would still show up potentially against Carolina. But Utah had clinched a playoff spot the game before that, so they weren't in a particularly motivated spot. This spot is also not particularly motivated. Going to Calgary, Utah might already be looking ahead to the playoffs now. They've already clinched, and they're, I think, guaranteed a wild card spot too. So they don't really have a whole lot to play for here. There's no way they can't catch any of the other teams in their division, Minnesota being 12 points ahead of them. So Yeah, Utah is really just kind of playing out the stretch. I mean, I don't think they care if they drop to the lower wild card or not. So not a particularly motivated spot for them. Calgary played yesterday, but they're returning home from a road trip. So not a great spot for them either, a long road trip. They have been away since March 30th. So that's not good. You know, I talk about these long road trips. When teams return home, it's a bad spot, dude. They can get caught. They have stuff to do at home. Maybe they get up for a playoff team like Utah, but they do have 2 home games left, and one of them is against Colorado. So I don't know. This doesn't seem like a very good spot to me for Calgary at all. The return home spot can be a distraction. Like I said, it's a 3rd game in 4 days, 4th game in 6 days, all in different cities. They were in Dallas. They were in Elevation in Colorado. They were in Seattle. Yeah, I don't love the spot for either team. I think an over makes sense here. The total did go up to 6, although we see 71% of tickets, 64% of the cash on the over here. But when you have 2 teams that really just don't have a ton of motivation, and they're both coming in off of playing yesterday, I think it affects the defense more than anything else. So that's probably what my opinion would be here. Utah is a pretty heavy favorite, down from minus 165 to minus 160. 67% of tickets, 70% of the cash on Utah. I don't have a good feel for the side here. I wouldn't want to do anything with the side in this one. But, you know, the money is indicating kind of against the over here, but I still think that's the only way I would look at that game is to go over. All right, NBA. We have a huge NBA board today. It's the final game of the season, but you got to look at the standings here. You know, I mean, this is it. Like, there are only certain teams that have motivation here, and the Celtics are clearly not one of them. So we have an ESPN game at 6 p.m., which is between the Celtics backups and the Orlando Magic here. Now, yeah, the Celtics are a deep team, whatever, and you have to factor in, you know, the number is crazy on Orlando here. But obviously, we know Orlando's the only team that's motivated here. Orlando is trying to avoid the play-in. They still have a chance to get into the top 6 here. That's a huge motivator. The Celtics have nothing to play for. Celtics are locked into the 2 seed. They're benching their starters here, obviously, because the Magic are a 12.5-point favorite on the road. Can you lay 12.5 here on the road against the Celtics? I don't think so. I mean, that line is insane. You know, maybe the Celtics backups will get out there and play well enough to not get blown out of this game. I mean, I have no idea. 54% of tickets and 67% of the cash on the Magic, though. Money coming in on the Magic. I mean, obviously at that opener at 3.5, that would have been a nice value on Orlando, but there's no way you can lay 12.5. You just can't do it. I think the Magic are going to win the game. Obviously, the Celtics have no reason to show up. Obviously, at that number, the Celtics are playing none of their starters probably in this game, but yeah, it's just, yeah, the game is a total pass for me. Really, really difficult to find a way to attack that game at all. You know, Orlando over their team total. Maybe the total went all the way up to 221, juice to the over. So the money has come in on the over. Maybe you could find an angle to attack it with Orlando going over their team total because they'll be motivated and show up. But that does also mean that their defense might show up. 78% of tickets, only 73% of the cash on the over there. But I don't know if I'd want to do that. Like, oh, let's fade the Celtics backups. Like, it seems almost too obvious to go Celtics under their team total, although maybe that will hit. I don't know. I don't like the game, but I said I was going to breeze through this. Let's try to do that. Washington at Cleveland. Cleveland, I don't think they have anything to play for either. Yeah, they're locked into the 4 seed. So Cleveland has literally nothing to play for either. They're still a favorite because Washington is trash. Washington's already guaranteed the best lottery odds, though. So Washington might have reason to actually play better in this game. Washington has no negative motivation in this one. Maybe they'll show up and try to beat Cleveland. Cleveland's still a double-digit favorite here. Cleveland did just lose a win streak, losing to Atlanta. None of these teams played yesterday. But, you know, Cleveland, again, they're laying double digits here, and they are not a motivated team here. But looks like they're resting some of their guys because they're down from 17.5 to 10.5 here. So I'm guessing probably Mitchell is being rested here. You got to check in. And if you really want to play this game, I think you're crazy, but you got to see who's in and who's out. Jared Allen has been kind of injured and whatever, so he might not be playing either. 69% of tickets, 64% of the cash on the Cavs still, though. At 10.5, a team with no motivation here. Yeah, I would lead to taking the points of the Wizards in that one, but Do I want to do it? No. And you lost 7 points of value on it. So, yeah, that's a stay away. The next game up will be my play, though. Call me crazy. We are going to take the points with the Indiana Pacers plus 14 against Detroit. Detroit has had nothing to play for a while, and I know they've still been playing fairly well, but, I mean, come on, man. They're guaranteed the 1 seed. Cade Cunningham came back. I think Jalen Duren is not playing in this game, by the way, and he's one of Detroit's best players. So I believe he's out of this game. And Detroit's coming off a pretty satisfying win against a Charlotte team that they might have to play in the first round of the playoffs. That was a nice win for Detroit, and now all they have left is they're going to Indiana. I just don't see where the motivation comes from here to blow Indiana out as the road team here. You know what I mean? I don't see any motivation here for Detroit here, and I think it's kind of a sandwich spot because that was kind of a satisfying win over a pretty hyped up Charlotte team that's been really hot, and with the playoffs on the horizon, I think it's basically a sandwich spot. And for Indiana, after having a bad season, Indiana, they're more of kind of a proud basketball team. I mean, they were in the fucking finals last year, so I think you're going to get an effort out of them in their final home game. They just lost at home to Philadelphia. It looks like they didn't just totally throw that game away. So I think they are playing with motivation here. Based on the recent results here, they've won a few recent games. So it looks like they're not totally packing it in. And they get to play Detroit in their final game. And they're not playing again after this. So I think that is a motivator for some of these teams, which you could say the same thing about Washington, whatever. But I think Indiana is a better team, though. And Indiana, I mean, whatever. They're going to get one of the top 2 or 3 lottery spots. I don't think that means they're going to stop trying to play here. You know what I mean? I think it's just whatever for them. And actually, I don't even know. What are their tiebreakers against the Nets? Does it even matter? But they did beat them twice, so they do actually have the tiebreaker. So if Indiana wins, which is unlikely, they could actually overtake the Nets if the Nets also lose, which is actually very likely that the Nets will lose. I don't know how likely it is that Indiana wins. Probably they're not going to, but we're taking them to cover the spread here. Again, we're getting a ton of points in a team that, has a decent, a proud history in a basketball area of the country that still seems to be playing with motivation against a totally unmotivated team that has things to look forward to. It looks like it's mostly 13.5s out there now. 14, I saw it 1 or 2 books. 13.5 is not much of a difference. I'd still do it. 72% of tickets, 62% of the cash on the Pistons. So the money's agreeing with us here. We'll take Indiana plus the points. And that is my only play in NBA. Atlanta at Miami. Whoops, I lost the standings here. Let's bring it back up. This game, I think Atlanta is locked into the 5 seed because I think they have the tiebreaker over the Toronto Raptors, and they did win their division already, but I don't think that really matters as far as playoff seeding. But I think Atlanta is locked into the 5 seed. I don't think Toronto could overtake them now, so I don't think Atlanta has anything to play for. Miami, I believe, could jump Charlotte. I think Miami has the tiebreaker against Charlotte. You can correct me if I'm wrong about this. I believe Miami has the tiebreaker against Charlotte, so they do have something to play for, and that they could move ahead of Charlotte, which would mean that they'd host this play-in game, which is better than not hosting it. You get the home court advantage, so Miami has a little bit more motivation here, and I think that's reflected into the line because Miami's a 4.5-point favorite here. They were going to be a 6-point dog. Now they're a 5-point favorite. I think probably that means the Hawks are resting guys in this game because they don't have anything to play for here. 62% of tickets, 88% of the cash on the Heat. And by the way, even if the Hawks could drop to the 6, I don't even think they give a shit about that. They give a shit if they could drop into the play-ins, but I'm pretty sure they cannot. Actually, let's make sure of that real quick against Orlando. They beat Orlando. Yeah, they swept Orlando 4-0. So yeah, I think the worst that Atlanta could do is fall to the 6. Actually, I don't think I even looked at what their tiebreaker is against Toronto, to be honest. But I think falling to the 6, they don't care. And in fact, I think they might prefer that because you might prefer a scenario Oh, no, they probably don't prefer that because 4-5, the winner of that is going to get Detroit. And I think you'd rather face Detroit than the Celtics or Knicks. But anyway, I just don't think that's going to be a motivator for Atlanta here. And it looks like they're resting guys anyway based on this number. So, but I would still lay it with the Heat probably if I was going to play this game. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to recommend it. But the money is indicating on the Heat. But again, at 5, I think maybe it's a little bit too high of a price there. 62% of tickets, 88% of the cash on Miami. I agree with Miami, though. Charlotte at the Knicks. The Knicks have nothing to play for. I think the Knicks are resting guys. They're locked into the 3 seed now. Charlotte has something to play for because I don't know if they can move into the top play-in game. They might be able to, actually, but they definitely at least are trying to hang on to the home court against Miami here. Charlotte, I think, might still be able to overtake Philadelphia, too, though. I'm not sure about that. But Charlotte does have some motivation here. And clearly the Knicks are resting everybody because the number is all the way up from 7.5 to 14 now with the Hornets. So the Knicks look like they're resting everybody. But the money is hilariously coming back in on the Knicks. 67% of tickets on the Hornets. You have to be kidding me. That the public is laying 14 with the Hornets, or maybe that was including when the Hornets were 7.5. I don't know, man. I don't think the public is playing the Hornets here at that price. The Knicks have 60% of the cash, but I would not take the points for the Knicks, though, even though the number is obviously ridiculously high, so there's no way I'm going to lay it with Charlotte here, but they're the only team that has any motivation here, so do with that information what you want to, but yeah, I mean, again, I think it's an over-adjustment, like with this Orlando line at Boston, Charlotte at the Knicks, the line I think has been over-adjusted, so like if you I don't know. I don't even want to give an opinion on the sides in those games because the value on the number is on the unmotivated side. You know what I mean? I hate that. Milwaukee at Philadelphia. Philadelphia does have motivation. I think they can maybe... I don't know if they can host the top play-in or something like that, but these teams are all in a cluster right now. Actually, Philadelphia could still get out of the play-in because they don't have this PB next to them, peanut butter. They're not stuck in peanut butter. They're not in the play-in. They're not guaranteed to be in the play-in yet. So Philadelphia could actually get into the 6th seed still here. So Philadelphia does have motivation here. But against a team like Milwaukee that has nothing left to play for, you know you're going to be paying way too much of a price with the Sixers. And Joel Embiid is out, which I forgot to mention that Philadelphia, he's missed their last couple of games because he had his appendix out. And it looks like he's going to be out for who knows how long. So Philadelphia is without Embiid again, and it's not for a knee injury this time. It's for having his appendix out, which it seems to me like you'd recover from that. But again, like it might be a situation where like you can't play again until your stitches heal. You know what I mean? Something like that. So I don't know. But Philadelphia will be without Embiid here, so keep that in mind. They've dropped from 16 to 15, 77% of tickets, 82% of the cash on the Sixers. I would take the points of the Bucks if I was going to play this. I think the line is too high on a Sixers team that everybody knows what they're playing for. I think the line is just too high. Do I think they're going to lose the game? No. But, you know, I think the number's too high. Brooklyn at Toronto, kind of the same deal here. We know what Toronto's motivation is. They're trying to make sure they don't fall into the play-in. They're trying to keep themselves in one of the top 6 spots here. That is their motivation. Brooklyn is ass, and maybe Brooklyn is probably the second worst team in the NBA to Washington here. Will they show up for a final game against Toronto? Maybe, because again, these teams like Milwaukee, Brooklyn, they're not playing again after this. So sometimes you do see teams just get motivated for that last game just because it's their last chance to do anything. And, you know, guys that, you know, might be playing for contracts or whatever, it's their last chance to show something. Toronto, of course, we know what their motivation is. They just got killed by the Knicks, too, which was a really ugly result. And meanwhile, probably another reason why I wouldn't want to really play on the Knicks here, even though they're getting a ton of points, is because they're coming off that good win. Yeah, but Toronto, this is a ridiculous line. Like I mentioned that Thunder line not too long ago that was 24.5 or whatever. It was the largest line in NBA history. I think this line is almost that heavy, 23.5. Like, do you think the Raptors should be 23.5 against any other team in the NBA? I mean, I know this is Adam Silver's NBA, man, where he added these stupid play-ins. You have teams have been eliminated for months now, which has led to like horrible basketball, where you have no teams that are fighting to get into, you don't have any team that's fighting to get into the playoff picture at all versus being left out. You know what I mean? All the teams that are going to be out have been out for like over a month. It's just so uninteresting. Fuck Adam Silver. But also, you can see it reflected in all these ridiculous double-digit lines that you see for the last month or two of the season. It's such a horrible product. But anyway, 23.5, that number is too high. 60% of the tickets here. And Toronto's not even good at covering as a favorite at home generally. So 23.5, I mean, come on. 60% of tickets on the Raptors, 57% of the cash on the Nets. Low total to at 219.5. I would take the points of the Nets if I was going to play it. I don't want to, but obviously Toronto's a motivated team. It wouldn't shock me if they wind up covering still here, because the NBA is that lopsided to some extent. But that number, clearly there's no value in it. It's a ridiculous number. Chicago at Dallas, both teams finishing the season here. Dallas is returning home from a road trip, so possibly you could argue it's a bad spot here. They've only been away since Tuesday, though. They played their last game in San Antonio, so they're staying in Texas here. And, the road trip, it took them into the Pacific Coast, but it really wasn't that far of a road trip. And it's their final game of the season, final home game, so it's not necessarily a game you're going to overlook. The Bulls, both teams are coming off kind of blowout losses, though. Bulls just lost their final home game. I don't know what the motivation is going to be in this game, man. I mean, I wouldn't want to try to figure out the side here. The Mavs are a 6.5-point favorite. It looks like that's probably the case because they are playing with a little bit more motivation than the Bulls are, but 85% of tickets, 94% of the cash on the Mavs. Bulls might be resting some guys here too, whereas the Mavs might not be, so that might be part of the reason, but I'd probably go over in this game. Again, it's one of those games where neither team is going to show up with intense defense probably, because neither team's going anywhere, but the total's up to 248.5 from 245.5, so it is a pretty high total there. But I still think I would lean that way towards the over in that one. Memphis at Houston. Houston's a double-digit favorite here, but I'm not sure if Houston can improve their seeding now. The Lakers won their division. Now, I don't know, because Houston's one game behind the Lakers. I don't know if they can, I can look real quick. I don't know if they can actually overtake the Lakers now. Houston might be locked into their seed. Yeah, the Lakers beat Houston 2 out of 3, so the Lakers have the tiebreaker. So Houston's locked into the 5 seed. So that sucks, because that means they don't get home court against the Lakers. So Houston doesn't have anything to play for here. Neither does Memphis. Memphis, at least it's their final game of the season. The money looks like it's coming in on Houston anyway, though, down from 16.5 to 13.5. Don't really understand why the money is coming in on them. They haven't been that good at covering at home, really, even though generally they're good at winning at home, but not really covering. 68% of tickets, 85% of the cash on the Rockets. I would probably fade the Rockets, so I'd probably lean towards taking the points. Might be another game where an over makes sense. 225.5 and went down by a point. 67% of tickets, 89% of the cash on the over. I know the Rockets are a good defensive team. This is a game that looks like it's going to lack defensive intensity, so the over makes sense to me in that game. Again, it's these boring final regular season games, man. New Orleans at Minnesota is another one of those. Minnesota is locked into the 6th seed, which has been the case for a while. So Minnesota, they're resting guys. They're trying to get healthy. Anthony Edwards has missed some time here. It looks like Trey Murphy is not playing for New Orleans anymore. I think he's out, yeah. Well, this is the last game of the season, but he's out for the rest of the season. So something to keep an eye on with New Orleans there. But Minnesota looks like everybody is out. Naz Reid is out. Gobert is out. Anthony Edwards is out. So Minnesota is not playing a lot of their guys here. And they're coming off a pretty good win at Houston, by the way. So Houston's coming off that tough game where they took a loss, but that was also a satisfying win for Minnesota. And Minnesota's returning home from a road trip, so I don't love the spot for that reason either. Although they were only away since Tuesday the 7th. But could be a letdown spot, plus the return home spot, plus they're looking ahead to the playoffs already. So, yeah, I would lean to New Orleans in this one. New Orleans seems like they are actually playing with effort down the stretch here, partially because they don't have a first-round draft pick. They just got killed by Boston, but they have been playing with with some amount of intensity here. Maybe they will, because this is their last game of the season. It is a very low number on Minnesota, but again, it's because it's all backups for Minnesota. The money's agreeing with me on the Pelicans, but you did lose a 10.5 number that was out there at some point. It's down to 5.5. 72% of tickets, only 58% of the cash on the T-Wolves. I would still lean to the Pelicans. I mean, the T-Wolves have zero motivation here. Nobody's playing for them. I know it's reflected in the line, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Pelicans won this game outright, so I'd probably take the points in that one. I don't want to put it on my card, though. Phoenix at Oklahoma City, neither team has anything to play for. Phoenix is locked into the 7, so they'll be hosting the first play-in game there, or the top play-in game. Oklahoma City guaranteed the 1 seed already, so that's been the case for a while. No motivation on either side here. Devin Booker, I forgot to mention, has actually been out for Phoenix, so I have no idea if he's back or not. Nope, he's not playing in this game, so they're resting him up for the play-in probably. OKC has a lot of guys not playing here. Hartenstein, a few of these other guys not playing. So that's why Oklahoma City is a small favorite in this one. Still a favorite at 5.5. 82% of tickets, 93% of the cash on OKC. You know, I kind of agree with Oklahoma City in this one, to be honest. Like, their backups are just so good, like, compared to other teams. And the Suns are resting players, too, and neither team has any reason to show up here. The money's coming in on the under in this one, though, even though usually when you have two teams with no motivation, I would say over. But it's a very low total of 213.5, and money coming in heavily on the under, with 64% of tickets on the over, 94% of the cash on the under. Yeah, I mean, I don't love trying to figure out the total here. I might slightly lean to the Thunder, but I think this is a pretty unplayable game, though. But yeah, I'll have a slightly into the Thunders because their team is just that deep. Denver at San Antonio is an ESPN game, and, you know, it's supposed to be a good game, but this game I don't think matters either. San Antonio, we know they're locked into the 2 seed, so they don't have anything to play for. Denver, I don't know if they can fall to the 4, but I don't know. But they probably care because they probably want to avoid the Thunder in the second round if they can help it. Let me see. What's this? I didn't look at the tiebreaker against the Lakers. The Lakers actually have the tiebreaker against Denver, so Denver could actually fall to the 4 seed. And maybe they do care about that. So maybe Denver does show up here. Maybe San Antonio doesn't. Denver just beat OKC, though. You know, it was an OKC team that had nothing to play for, but that's still very satisfying. And they won kind of in a blowout. That's still a satisfying win there. Oh, dude, did I forget to put the ticker on all game? I apologize, man. All show, I mean. Yeah, I'm an idiot, dude. I forgot to put the ticker on. I'm such an idiot. But yeah, there's the ticker. We'll let it run for the rest of the show there. But yeah, we're on a 15-4 run on the show here. San Antonio, they literally don't have anything to play for. Staying at home here, but they've been winning games anyway, despite having nothing to play for. Wemby might be I don't know if he's playing or not in this game. He's a game-time decision, it looks like. Obviously, that's something to keep an eye on. And Castle, because those are two really good players there for the Spurs. Obviously, Wemby affects the game in a major way. The Spurs are an 11-point favorite, though, which that leads me to believe the Nuggets are just not playing anybody. 67% of tickets, 73% of the cash on the Spurs. I'd probably take the points with the Nuggets here, but it looks like the Nuggets are just kind of throwing this game, which makes no sense because the Lakers are probably going to win against the Jazz. So, I don't know. I don't know what we're doing here, man. But Jokic looks like he's questionable. If that number's 11, it looks like Jokic might not play. If that number's 11 on the Spurs, I don't know, man. This is a game to really, you got to look at the injury report because Jokic and Wemby, those are huge pieces in this game, obviously. Utah at the Lakers. As I just mentioned, the Lakers still have a chance to, they could actually get the 3 seed. As insane as that sounds, they can get the 3 seed here, which I think they probably do want that because I think they want to avoid Oklahoma City, especially when the Lakers are injured. I mean, we know the Lakers don't have Luka here. They don't have Reeves here, but they're playing a Utah team that doesn't have a lot of guys playing for them either. Utah's coming off a big win. well, a blowout win, I should say, against Memphis, where we barely got the over right in that game. I still think Utah's going to show up in this game, though, in the final game of the season, get to play the Lakers here, spoil their season, maybe by forcing them to have to run into the Thunder in the playoffs, although you're probably going to have to run into the Thunder anyway in the playoffs. 64% of tickets on the Lakers, 92% of the cash on the Jazz. Lakers 14-point favorite. Money is indicating on the Jazz. I don't really disagree with it. Probably the price is a little too high on the Lakers, but they are the only team that has any real motivation in that game. Golden State at the Clippers. Golden State is locked into the last play-in spot here, so they know they're going to be on the road. It's just a matter of which one of these teams do they want to play. And I'm going to be honest, I think they probably want to play Portland and not play the Clippers. So Golden State might actually, in effect, throw this game against the Clippers and let the Clippers jump ahead of Portland. You know what I mean? Because I think Golden State would rather play Portland here. I would. I think the Clippers even though Portland just blew out the Clippers, but maybe Golden State doesn't think that way. I don't know. Golden State did just lose to Sacramento, which was ugly, but Golden State just doesn't have anything to play for really here. Until they play in the play-in because they're locked in. Clippers had a game that meant something against Portland, and they got annihilated. I don't know what happened in that game against Portland. I still think the Clippers are better than Portland. I don't know how that happened in that game, but I'm going to lean to the Clippers in this one, man. Coming off that ugly game, they're still playing to try to leapfrog here. Let me see. Although they're going to probably need Portland. They're going to need Portland to lose as well. They will need that to happen. But then again, when a team doesn't control their own destiny, I like that. The Clippers are a 6.5-point favorite. The money's not agreeing with me, though. They're down from 8.5. But again, when the Clippers, it's not just win and you're in, basically. It's you have to win, and you also need the Blazers to lose for the Clippers to jump into that top play-in game. I think that lets you play a little bit looser. I like the Clippers in this game. 55% of tickets on them, but 80% of the cash on the Warriors. I don't agree with that. The Warriors have nothing to play for here, man. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on that game. Got to look at the injury report, of course. Looks like Curry is back and playing in every game, it looks like. It looks like he is playing here. Draymond Green is on the injury report, as he always is. And then, of course, the thing about the Clippers, though, is that this is why they're playing at the same time as Portland, but it's highly unlikely Portland's going to lose to Sacramento. Sacramento just beat Golden State. Nice win for them. Sure, they might show up to try to play spoiler here against Portland. Portland trying to maintain that spot in the top play-in game. Portland coming off a very satisfying win over the Clippers, though, to maintain their lead or to get their lead back over the Clippers, I should say. I would not lay the points with the Blazers here, though. They're laying 17. I think that price is way too high because everybody kind of knows they're the only team with motivation here. The only team, but, that's factored into the number to the point where, yeah, they're just laying too many points, in my opinion. And in the spot that I just talked about as well. 78% of tickets, 77% of the cash on the Blazers. I would fade them. I would take the points with the Kings. That's going to do it, man. Really long show here. The plays here are Minnesota Twins first 5, which I hate now. Yankees split bet, run line, money line. Although if you find a money line that's below minus 150, I think playing the money line works in that game. We're going to be on the Rangers money line as well. Texas Rangers. New York aren't playing today anyway. And then hockey, we do have the Islanders money line. NBA, we have the Indiana Pacers plus the points. That's going to do it. Learn to Toad on Twitter. Learn to Toad on Instagram. Check me out at all the places. Like, subscribe to the channel here. Like I said, there it is. Maybe I should, my Learn to Toad tag is right there. So I was going to say, should I put that in the banner? Probably not, because it's right there anyway. But yes, like, subscribe. You'll get the notifications when I go live. What else do we have to say here? We're on audio as well. Listening over there helps. We've got a nice little jump in the listenership over there, so that does help as well. On Spreaker and on Apple and Spotify. Give me good reviews. Tell more people about it, man. Word of mouth. Spread it around. Covered in Uke is my Uke channel on YouTube, which might be moving. Maybe I'm going to consolidate everything into one channel. I still don't know yet. Got to figure everything out. Patreon.com/LearnToToad. I know I haven't been keeping up with it. I'm almost kept up with the Uke feed that's there, but I opened it up to every level. And I said I'm going to do some streams for the mid-tier there, which I got to do. I got to do it because, that's what people are going to pay extra for. So I do have to do that once in a while. Maybe it'll be like a, once a month thing or something. I don't know. I gotta figure it out. But I have to, like, my voice at least needs to kind of be there for me, even though it's just going to be like a uke jam. But anyway, I'm rambling. Losercast will be back on Tuesday as well, so you can check that out. And I was on a couple of podcasts the last couple of days on This Is Comedy with Hindian, so I don't know when that's dropping, but that'll be, I think it's already dropped, and I think it's on my channel here as a collaboration, so you can find it in that tab. It's audio only, I think. Then I was on with Tyler Yankee on a members-only show last night, like I mentioned. So you can go find that. If you subscribe to him, you'll be able to find it. But he puts out good content. And that's going to do it, man. Losercast on Tuesday. If I didn't mention that, I think I did. I appreciate it, guys. Peace. Let's get some wins. Keep the hot streak going, and peace until tomorrow.